Beep the meep.
A ho 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 and a stabby new year to everybody. Welcome back. We are your favorite stabbing show. I mean media response show. And this week we are stuck in a scream loop. I'm Nico, and you can check me out along with the rest of X's for Show at X's for Show online.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
And I'm your producer, Kevo, and you can find me at Kevo Really, and I'm really excited to talk about this leg of the Scream franchise.
I thought I wouldn't be. I thought this was going to be like convincing me a fish fillet Happy Meal is a good thing. I thought you were going to have to convince me that this was still a good version of something I love, even though you've ruined it. And instead, I got some of my favorite stuff out of this. This is the way that I think they're one of the best Alien. So Alien has final girls, right? Just to make it clear to everybody. The Alien final girl is like a specific thing. AVP has one of the best Alien final girls of the whole franchise. 5, 6, definitely. And the show even. This is some good stuff.
It really is. One is forever a classic and is one of the greatest movies of all time. And I think really benefits from starting a franchise. I think if one didn't start the franchise, it's maybe not as great, but because it originates the whole thing, yes. 2, phenomenal sequel, not without faults, but really, really great. It's a sharp decline at 3 and 4. 3 holds a lot of nostalgia value and a lot of, I understand what life was like in 2000, so I get that movie. For me, 4 is a real rough spot. These are all, except for season 3 of Scream the series, these are all good or better. So there's not this giant decline that happens for me after Scream 2 when we're talking about this stuff. And on the whole, it's just really fun, even if I don't feel the same. Like, I would love to talk to a young person to see if, like, they feel the same cultural
I get that
connection and anchorship to these films the way that I do to the original Scream.
I mean, what I really like is that you kind of felt like maybe, like as a young horror fan, when these started, they were like a dream come true, and you just wanted to be with them. But then 3, it was plain to see that there was a decline. And then 4, you kind of started back at 1, but bad. And, we get to 5 and 6, and it really is a different ball game. Kevo, you came to Scream as an adult person. Nobody appreciated my subtle back at 1 stuff. You can.
No, I did.
Well, I
I just
did.
really,
Yeah,
I wasn't going to acknowledge it because it was
Well,
terrible.
I hope you both have a bad
Smiled.
Brian McKnight. So except Kevo, he's
Probably
gonna be
will.
great. Kevo, talk to me about your adult Scream process.
I really agree with a lot of TK's assessment. I have different, personal feelings in my own way on different films, but I think that a lot of what he said is fair, especially in regards to where there was a sharp difference decline and then increase in the quality of the output. I especially feel because the disparity in quality are for such vastly different reasons for the different films that they are different, that is why I feel like I am more forgiving of 5, 6 than I perhaps was of 3, 4. I personally feel like there is a decline from 1 to 2 in a lot of ways. Just the natural course of finding your footing. But because they had so much of the original cast, because they had the original, creative team, I was more on board. The way that they fumbled the ball with 3, with the creative team so sharply on the heels of the success of 1, 2, I'm less forgiving of that. You could have done a better job there. Giving Kevin Williamson back for 4, any pratfalls there, you tried to get the creatives back. You could have done better. But I really feel like the attempts from Scream the series and the new Scream films from new creatives that aren't involved in the original in any way the attempts that I was seeing from them and the affection that was clearly paid to the original through these projects, well, it made them more amazing. And I have qualms about them as well, but I have so many fewer qualms than I would have thought that I would have. This is not the seventh season of Gilmore Girls. This is, someone tried to keep this thing going even without the original creator. And I think it's a solid effort. It's a good stab.
Okay, well, I want to throw another question / thing at you.
Go for it.
One of the things that I like most about Scream the series, the first 2 seasons of Scream the series, we got to talk about the third one as its own thing. So when we say Scream the series, we're talking about 1 and 2, and then we'll talk about 3 later. But the thing I love most about Scream the series is in terms of horror show / whodunit murder mystery, I think it achieves all of its teen drama, all of those other things, goals that Riverdale never does with that particular line of story. There's always a whodunit, and it's kind of a murder mystery. And I think those are always pretty terrible parts of the season that I don't care about. There's a lot of Riverdale that, even though it's so campy and stupid, I love to watch. Every musical episode they do, I think, is a riot. They're terrible, but I love watching them.
Yeah, it's fun.
The crazier they get, the more I like them. But like, genuinely, all of the killer stuff I don't think is any good. And I just think it gets stupider, and they keep hammering it in. And I've never gotten it. I've never understood what they were trying to do until I watched Scream. And I think Scream does all of it perfectly.
Yeah.
It might not be able to do any other teen drama stuff. In fact, it absolutely cannot. But I think it really nails teen drama horror mystery. Do you agree? That's the question.
Yes. And I guess, and what I wrote down for us as a secondary big question, because I already put our first one in the comments, but I guess a question being, why did Scream fail where Riverdale succeeded in terms of success, even though overall, and in terms of doing that horror, I really feel like it was never supposed to be part of Riverdale. I feel like the first season of Riverdale was more mystery than it was about the actual murder part. But then I feel like they kept trying to go back to that well of it being, first of all, hello, Tom. Hello, Tasty Cake. They kept trying to go back to the well of it being this like dark, edgy murder thing. And I think they saw these MTV shows like Scream, like Teen Wolf at the time, that were doing these, big, scary horror things. And Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa, for as much as he came up in Glee, he also loves the horror and wanted to graft that onto Riverdale. And I don't think that was ever really a natural part of Riverdale. When they were doing kooky stuff with cults, that was one thing.
Yeah.
But everything about like the serial killer stuff, it never really worked. And
I agree.
Scream the series, it was part of it from the start.
Yep.
I love what you said about, but it failed at the teen drama stuff. I feel like it did and it didn't.
Yeah.
And at least it was funny.
Yes.
Almost satirical in a lot of ways. And I appreciated that about it. I'm sorry, I felt like I went on too long.
Oh, no, you nailed it.
Let's.
I was giving Nico a chance to talk.
I literally could not stand what little I saw of Riverdale. Never seen a thing of it. Have no input on this. So I do want to bring up the other big question, though, and I do want to jump back a couple of things that were said. Like 5 minutes ago, something was said that I really want to lean into, though. I completely disagree. I think 4 is so much better than 3 and 2. It's actually crazy. Because
why did you say that last week?
Because I rewatched 5 and 6 this week, and it helped me see the series a little bit more in retrospect. 2 doesn't start anything. 2 riffs on things, and that's really cool. Don't get me wrong. I love when John Mayer riffs on Crossroads for 6.5 minutes. It's super great. But I'm also really excited about someone doing something new. And I feel like Scream 4 was attempting to do something new. Scream 2,
Expand.
because I was talking to my sainted mother. My mother is so interested in what we do. So when I'm talking to her sometimes, she's like, talk to me about your show, right? And I'm talking to her about how there's stab movies in Scream, and Stab 1 is basically Scream 1 in Scream 2.
Mhm.
And the sort of chain reaction that is means that Stab is always a parallel of Scream. So
they're at Stab 4 by Scream 3, right?
I thought
Maybe.
Okay, sorry, that's a stupid interruption. Go ahead.
The thing that I wind up walking away from this with is that because Scream 2 is iterating Stab, which is iterating Scream, we wind up in like a feedback loop. Scream 4 says, all right, well, the rules have changed. Let's update it. For all of the ways that Scream 1 is laughable, for when we have that scene of Gail going, Kenny, I need the cellular, which is absurd. The reality is, in Scream 3, they so misunderstand the world of technology that from what little of Rita Reynolds there is, we have, the ability to completely construct her voice on a little digital recorder that we can carry around with her and produce her voice as necessary, which is not the real world. Scream 4 is a different setting. It changes the dial in a way that 5 and 6 could not exist without the depths of 4, but 2 did nothing that made 3 better. In fact, 2's setup made 3 a fumble.
I see it.
Okay.
So first off, to answer the big question,
Yeah, I get that.
For me, it's 2.
It's Nancy Loomis. She's the best killer.
It is in fact Mrs. Loomis and Mickey. I think Mickey is a really great part of the thing. So for me, the other thing is it's Grendel's mother. If 1 and 2 are an epic, Sydney being Beowulf fights and kills Grendel, and then ultimately you have to contend with Grendel's mother. You are right insofar as this is a tough one, because does it not set up anything that could happen in 3? I don't think so, but then 3 happens and doesn't really it only stacks up on 2 in that
it's
way
accurate.
Exactly. But I don't think that has to be how it was. So for me, that's not a dig on 2. I get what you're saying about 4. I give it a big A for effort, and a lot of points in terms of 3 was so campy that anything that was kind of self-referential in that way Scream always is wasn't good commentary and didn't give us much to think about. The fact that 4 put it all up front with the recursive versions of the Scream intro that are stab intros, that was really cool. And then they pulled way back and it got very serious, and I thought that technique was really cool. I don't know that I agree with the point that 5 and 6 couldn't happen without it, but I really see what they were trying to do in terms of honoring some of the camp and the self-referentialness of the original Screams, while then not being but we're going to be even sillier because that's how these have been building up. They really reset the tone, and maybe that's a big thing that they did. But still, Nancy Loomis and Mickey.
They didn't make it sillier, but they definitely escalated where the franchise goes in terms of violence, almost at times to a needless degree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also an evolution of where we are culturally in the genre.
I suppose that's fair.
One of the killers in 5 is I have no idea how she moves that fast. It is.
Oh yeah, she's a little. She should be Squirrel Girl. She's got a
Sonic the Hedgehog.
She's a murderous little chipmunk. But Kevo, who are you? Who are your fave killers?
I mean, definitely, I'm on board with the Nancy. That was and remains an amazing reveal.
Jill, just one vote for Jill.
No, I also really love Jill. I found her to watch the most fascinating, I think, of all of the killers. I feel like the one of the killers of five is kind of a poor echo of Jill in a lot of ways. Jill watches so amazingly, but I don't know that I would have enjoyed, like I said on our last broadcast, I don't know that I would have enjoyed watching her carry any more than a single film. And that's something about these movies as well that I'm finding as they go on and on. Not everyone is Sidney Prescott, and not every story needs to continue for the entire goddamn franchise.
I think you mean
And
Sydney Detective Mark Detective, because she's
yeah,
married.
Mrs. Detective Sidney Mark Kincaid Prescott, Esquire. Uh, and so, some stories can just be one movie, and that's cool. There's a lot of different ways that you can interpret and pay honor to what this franchise is.
Now, TK, I don't know if you knew this about Jill Prescott from the Scream franchise, but real life, that actress, Emma Roberts, is related to actor Eric Roberts.
Are you?
I didn't know.
Is this a bit, or do you not know that I, of course, know that?
No, that's why I went with Eric
It's
and
a
not
bit.
Julia.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Great. So the weirdest thing for me about Scream 4 is actually that Emma Roberts will go on to be the television Scream queen through American
Yeah.
Horror Story, through Scream Queens. She is Ryan Murphy's horror muse in a way that I don't really like any of the shows. Except for, as I always say, Coven and Apocalypse, which are huge for her. But like Scream Queens, I don't think is very good. But she is iconic. And it's so weird that there's this huge disconnect where this person that is going to go on to define horror for the generation that's watching Scream 4, younger millennials and significantly like the oldest part of the Gen Z demographic, that's one of their really big Scream queens. But the thing that she's not really known for or like a big part of in that kind of lexicon is Scream 4. And for me, that's kind of the biggest letdown and disconnect is that she's Emma fucking Roberts and it's just a miss here. I don't think she's bad, but like you guys had already seen it, but like I went in knowing that Hayden Panettiere is going to be in 6, ready for that. Like the only thing I was looking forward to was her.
Gotcha.
I was so excited, and I wasn't at any point like, oh man, but if only we had Jill Roberts. I just didn't really, I no longer cared. I would have really loved to have Chanel from Scream Queens, but I just didn't care about, that character.
I do want to make one additional point about all of this. We're talking about TV Scream Queens named Emma.
Oh man, yeah.
We
so
are going to
yes.
get to the only character, I think, in all of Scream the series that is a final girl. We're going to talk about how Keke Palmer's character does not make sense. She is an A+ character in a TV show that treats her like an A- character when the show itself is a B+ at best.
If it helps for nomenclature, the third season, the bastard
The
season
Resurrection. Yeah.
Resurrection. So
Yeah.
we should use the subtitle just to be
absolutely
clear.
we
Because
should.
it's what a mess.
But Emma from the first 2 seasons of Scream,
Willa Fitzgerald, who played young Madeline Usher in Fall House of Usher, one of the greatest horror series ever made. For me, I think it's probably my top Flanagan. But surely, no matter what, it's a great one. And, I said, I can't tell if they got together and decided to kind of do a parallel performance. And now I know from watching Scream the series, no, Willa Fitzgerald was doing Mary McDonnell. She was doing What If Mary McDonnell Was Younger phenomenally well. It's so weird that these two are so far apart in time because she's a Scream, she is a final girl Scream queen. She deserves another horror series. She is incredible. Yeah. I'm so excited to talk about Emma, but Willa Fitzgerald all the way. Such a great character. She'd be in my running for Jean Grey, who would also be a really great Scream girl.
and Noah.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm just gonna I'm going to put out there that I think Noah is the
He's
least
an amazing Randy.
problematic.
Oh, he is a
version
phenomenal.
of his character type.
Yeah, he is a phenomenal Randy fill-in character. The only better one is the highly underused in Scream 3, Heather Myers. So,
Yeah,
oh my god! But then, so
always underused.
you have no idea. I look up the first time we're watching Scream 5, and I literally this is the moment we're doing it, guys. We're moving over. We're talking about Scream 5.
are we doing 5 and 6 before we do the show?
Yeah, can we?
Okay, down.
When I look up and I see, so okay, I went into 5 with the lowest expectations possible. Not because I didn't think it would be good, but because I knew that it was a different era. And so it could be great for the era of horror it was produced for, and not for me, who looks for maybe slightly different older visual ideals. Right. So I went into Scream 5 expecting nothing. And I honestly was pretty bored by the beginning. The truth is, and I'm putting this out there, I think that Tara is the worst character in the entire Scream franchise, maybe, but think Jenna Ortega is one of the most unbelievably talented performers I've ever seen in a horror movie, bar none. I think Melissa Barrera is a very well-intentioned actress who is definitely much stronger in 6, but has not had enough coaching to stand up against some of the outright kings of form she was asked to perform against. I bet Melissa Barrera would have seemed stronger if she wasn't against Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, and now, frankly, Jenna Ortega, who is an absolute horror icon because of this film. But that all said, where I think that, the rest of them might be performing at an A and she's performing at a B+, right? I think Sam is one of the best characters in the Scream franchise, and so much of that is based on Melissa Barrera's ability to make me believe. And really fascinating new protagonists by far.
I completely agree. I don't agree so much about Jenna Ortega. I think she's good. You said something just kind of about her character in 5 that I didn't really pick up till 6, just kind of how toxic she is.
She's so mean.
I didn't really pick it up in 5.
Really in this.
I was gonna say in 5 she's so maimed that maybe just the whole time I'm. But so
yes.
It's true. She is. But so the one thing I will give 5 in terms of flipping the script the way you kind of have to every time, 5 gives us the first time that our intro kill is unsuccessful.
Not howling about it.
Not only that, but then she goes on to be a support, essentially a star. It's really, Melissa Barrera who is the star, but she is kind of a co-star. The character is a co-headliner. Very, very interesting choice. I might have had her survive, but not through the end of maybe not had her be Tara, the person who survives the killing. I think the fact of the intro kill not being a full-on kill is enough. Yeah. The fact that it wound up being a character that survives so far the whole franchise that they've been a part of, maybe too much. Who knows? I don't know. But a huge change in that she survives, and a really interesting way to start the movie.
And I think honestly, one of the best opening scene performances.
Yeah.
Yes.
Person, not you, but like the world. This was fraught with tension. The direction was beautiful. The use of the open spaces, the enclosement. This was like all the things you're saying about this opening segment. I can't say enough positive with you.
Yeah. And I think it's fascinating. Something that never comes up. They are. I mean, basically, what it comes down to, what I'm saying is, their mother has to be a Latina woman. These are 2 Latina actresses who, have a physical appearance that is not white, but we know that Melissa Barrera's father in the movie is a white man. So that, it kind of essentially falls to their mother. But I think it's just a really interesting thing that they picked 2 really phenomenal actors who are women of color, who are Latina women, who I think kind of embody that without it ever being a reference.
But great read.
Since we're going into 7, I would kind of like a Latina director and producer and writer, or some combination of those things. And since we know as of literally 2 hours ago that Christopher Landon will not be doing Seven, which is not really a fuck to me. It's kind of a, I think the movie is treading water a little bit right now, but as we said in the group chat when we were talking to each other about it, this could have no effect on the final product. If the director walked out mid-movie and Melissa Barrera walked out mid-movie, I would say this is going to be a disaster. If they hire a great director, and I mean, the really big thing is Melissa Barrera. And I don't believe that she won't do the movie. I just feel
they need her back in some capacity because now there's Bad Blood, and now even if Sam and Tara were done, which I kind of thought you should have let them ride off into the sunset. I really felt they deserved it. But like, I don't want a Seven that doesn't involve Sam's physical blessing in some capacity now.
Yeah,
exactly.
like
and I do think that is possible. I think
I'm sorry.
Like the Sydney blessing on 6.
Yes.
Yeah. And I do think it's possible. I think Spyglass made a huge error, and Melissa Barrera is very reasonable for standing her ground and not going right back. But I do think these are relationships that can be mended. I would love to see it get her blessing, but honestly, I would really. We've talked all again behind the scenes. The only thing that I would be cool with right now and not having Melissa Barrera is a Kirby movie. Which we'll talk about more because we do love Kirby in this house. But I would like to get Melissa Barrera back because the trajectory of this second trilogy is discovering your legacy as the daughter of a killer, as the daughter of a ghost face, embracing that darkness as what you need to survive. It's very much a Slayer mentality of,
I was gonna say Star Wars. This is Rey finding out she's a Palpatine.
Also that. This is death is her gift. The only way she gets to live is if she embraces death, which she does in a very fun, disturbing way. It's at the very end of 5. We get a little bit more of it, but not a ton in 6. And then I think 7 is where it has to be at least half the movie where, we get the Ghostface reveal in the middle of the film, and now she's hunting Ghostface. Now it's turned into enough that Jennifer Lopez movie where she gets super fit and beats the shit out of her abusive husband. That's kind of what I want for 7. If I can't get it, a Kirby movie will absolutely do, but I think they really set up a phenomenal trilogy the way that they did with Scream 1 through 3, that 3 failed to pay off the trilogy, but I think this movie could, or this set could, and I would love to see them do it.
I want to say it once because it's such a dumb memory. I was dating a dude for a while, and he wanted to meet Hayden Panettiere, and I wanted to meet Kristen Bell, and it was a dual meeting Comic-Con thing for Heroes Season 2. And
oh, right. I always forget.
I was kind of there for Kristen Bell in a way that, during the Hayden Panettiere part of the photo shoot, I was staring at Kristen Bell, and Hayden Panettiere was like, "Isn't she cool? Aren't you so excited to meet her?" Me too, man. I love her. And I just want to say, Hayden Panettiere, my opinion on Kirby has nothing to do with the fact that you are maybe one of the kindest celebs. And I worked in Disney for a couple of years. So I was constantly just go help that celebrity who was basically you're a garbage dump. Get away from me. I've had a lot of really bad starfucker experiences as a, professional starfucker, but Hayden Panettiere was a really lovely human. That has no bearing on my positive thoughts on Kirby. Kevo, you did something really beautiful for me in 5, in our rewatch of 5 the other day with JoJo. You paused the screen where we can literally see the one moment of footage. That Kirby survived. It's a blink and you'll miss it.
Oh yeah, it's not even a blink and you'll miss it. It's a pretty clear moment.
I mean, it's just a headline.
It's blink and you'll miss it as much as
sorry. Yes. Yeah.
It's a YouTube screen. It's like another video is Woodsboro survivor Kirby speaks out. Which, love that. Love Kirby surviving. And we'll get to her when we're talking about 6. Here's the thing I want to say about 5. I think Richie is my number 3 killer of all time. I love Richie. I thought, okay, number 1, I am in love with Jack Quaid as an actor. And what I love is that he's not gorgeous. He's handsome, very handsome, but like he's not a knockout. He's just real world handsome, but that makes
that meme.
Richie possible.
It's that meme that I love where his dad should be named Jack and he should be named Dennis. It's not a handsome name, but he really looks like the Dennis, doesn't he?
But, one thing I really give them credit for in this film in relation to him is, he's in The Boys, and the whole point is he's not a superhero. He is just a dude, and he looks kind of small compared to everybody, and he's a little bit pathetic when it starts. I'm not going to give away the whole show, but like the whole point is
all spoilers on the table. We're talking about everything.
Well, not The Boys, but he's he's just a guy, and he often looks like lanky and small, and like a superhero would just punch his heart out and he would be dead. And seeing him in something like Star Trek, he's kind of neutral. He doesn't really look big or small. Like everybody just kind of looks how they look on Star Trek. This, I got the first impression that if you wanted to, he could be a leading man. It would not be I had to change my whole life to get huge. It would be, he really solidly looks like he could be the man in a movie. And
that topic, we watched Kong Skull Island. Dude, when you get to Eugene Cordero flexing, I mean, he's always looked like a big guy. Yeah. There's a flex from him where he could fucking take down Chris Evans as Captain America. Like
another good example.
These sleeper builds where you don't see it coming. I
think they embrace his physicality in this movie, and it is one of the early hints that he is the killer. Because sometimes he comes off as really dorky, like, oh, I'm just a stab nerd. But then this is like not quite a moment, but it is, because he's significantly taller than Melissa Barrera. He looks a little bigger, and sometimes he comes to her in a way that is not, well, I'm just your man, wife, simp guy who will follow you because I love you, but really, I'm taking charge. I'm going with you.
It's that moment in 1 where Stu literally says, "Nah, I'll protect you. I'm hella buff," and picks Tatum up with one arm and runs with her.
Yeah, and you just get a sense for a minute. There's something a bit more and a bit bigger to this guy than you actually think. This is a great photo. The only thing I want to say, an amazing capture. The only thing I want to say, I was following Heather Matarazzo on TikTok during this time. She glows up hard. I really wish they had not made her this frumpy, because she is not this frumpy.
So beautiful, and she's so funny and cool.
She's very easy to make frumpy. I get comedically it works. Her kids are hot as fuck. There's no reason that she wouldn't be just a little bit like a bait. It was a bummer choice. Yeah, I love that she's in it.
Chad is a 13 out of 7. Chad is beyond words handsome.
I mean, so is Mimi.
And Mindy is so incredible.
Part of why I brought this image up here and now is to emphasize the fact that, we're talking about Jack Quaid's physicality.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show one of the shots that I had of him with
tallest guy in the room.
Tallest guy, taller than Chad, actually.
Yep.
He's bigger than Dewey, and so it really draws your attention to. They really played up the fact that, on The Boys, maybe they can get away with him being the skinny guy and playing that down compared to that cast, but here they did the opposite.
Yeah, he's tall like a very big TV here.
Yep.
The other thing I want to say, all the way over to the left, if you could defeat Ghostface with the ability to just vibrate your voice very low, Detective Judy Hopps' son, the little
Dylan Wes,
he gives a great performance. He is absolutely stunning. And the depth of his voice makes the stunningness a little bit more charming, which is why that he feels like he literally lifts out of the film. It's bizarre how this character was done dirty. I mean, yes, Chad
I'm ready to talk about that whole sequence. I've got screen caps and everything. Don't worry.
I love Chad.
I mean, go for it.
I love Mindy.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Chad and Mindy are two of the best characters. The last week I said something about Randy is literally the least cool Meeks in the entire bunch. He is. Chad is immediately ready to alpha bro, specifically to defend his friend. He's not looking to start fights. He's not saying, I'm the fucking biggest man ever, I'll fucking fight Ghostface. He's saying, I'll protect the people I love. It's a very different determination of the character. Mindy is charmed by her own family's obsession with, or Death's obsession with her family. She's not a Death stalker. These are two of the most realized characters in the franchise, played exquisitely by two very talented actors.
I agree, because there's also the other end of the spectrum to both their performances. Chad is not entirely not a douche.
Oh my God. I just see it's that you could be the killer. So
yeah,
exactly. There are a lot, especially early on, there are a lot of moments. And then in the next movie, the fact that he is like shirtless at this party, being a little bit, yeah, and like kind of objectifying the girls for
literally named Chad.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. He should not be the guy who seems like a Chad, but is actually the nicest guy in the room. Sometimes he's a little bit of a tool, and he has to grow into it a little bit. We have to create the idea of the core four. Similarly, Mindy is a little bit toxic in every way.
Yeah.
She's a little bit... She's a little bit... she's so blasé, she's going to get them all killed. She's too smart to be that dumb. And, she has to grow into it and survive. And she suffers for being a little bit too Meeks, a little bit too self-aware, a little bit too Meeks about it, but survives and becomes a character that I think we all really root for. I think everything you said is true, but then the opposite of what you said is true for them in parts of the film, and it does make for a really realized character. Nobody is just that's the good guy, and that's the Randy, and that's the Sydney.
It's the core four because they're four realized characters. It's not the core two across four people.
Right.
Kevo, you are in many ways the opposite of a Randy personality type, but so much of what you do, not just for our show, but you are a cataloger and a tropist.
Yeah.
And to see that sort of modern identity of a Randy is captured in a Mindy, who you do sort of have, reflective elements of. How do you feel about the updates on the Meekses?
The Meekses and the overall survivors of this franchise at this point. It's an interesting update. I think in some ways I am a little frustrated again by the increased physical violence of this, making it kind of hard to buy that they keep surviving with how intensely they keep being physically maimed. And I'm really fascinated by the evolution of what being a survivor is. To harken back to what TK was saying earlier and his pitch as a whole for what he could see as being a third of this trilogy, I think for me, I fear that the franchise turning into something where the killer is sort of the hero is something that I'm a little bit afraid of. Nico has a lot of feelings about thinking that 5 and 6 work very well as a duology, and that we don't really need to see a ton more from the Carpenter sisters. I think we need to see them again because, this is a world where people exist and you have Kirby's come back, and I think that's great. But I think I would prefer to see more from the Meekses as survivors of this film than I would want to see from the Carpenter sisters anymore, because I really fear, like I said, the murderer becoming the hero. I think we already are sort of tipping into that through 6, and I think the ways in which they wanted us to believe that Sam could be the killer in 5 and even in still 6, it's not harming my enjoyment exactly, but it's definitely throwing it off in terms of I need to be able to follow someone. The betrayal of 4 and Jill being revealed to be the killer was a big thing, But now that's in our brains. And I never really believed that she was going to be revealed to be the killer of five, but they wanted us to believe that. And so that's something that's playing on the track the entire time. And so it's distracting from the rest of the music.
I love that read because, I think about this whole show started as a comic response thing. And for me, the life-changing comic betrayal of all time is Zorn was Magneto. It ruined my life for 20 years. One of my absolute favorite things in all of fiction ever. I feel that not quite that good, but yeah, Jill as the killer is Scream 4's equivalent for what Scream 4 is to the Scream franchise, as New X-Men is to the Uncanny X-Men franchise. You know what I mean? From the ashes as it is. But the same. But the bigger picture for me here is that the nature of revealing Jill is the killer means now the killer has come from within the Prescott family once. We're done. You can't go back down that road. And then to make this a Loomis, you know what I mean? Like, if we were to see that they're doing a Son of Sonic the Hedgehog series, and it's what if Sonic settled down and had a kid? If the kid is blue and super fast, we're going to roll our eyes. If Billy Loomis's daughter was just like, stab the knife is my penis, we would just be so bored with it that we wouldn't be able to connect with it. The strength of Sam is that she seems to want to be a Dexter in a world full of Buffalo Bills. And I think that is meant to be the strength of it. But the point is that Dexter still qualifies the morality instantly.
I also think this image encapsulates a lot of my feels about the last two movies and a lot of the movies overall in terms of what the reveal is and who the killer is. The killers are sitting in this room with this group, and they are part of this whole scene.
Also, the body language on every character is exactly what you're talking about.
And I'm thinking back on the other groups from the franchise and where the reveal comes from and the group shot. And, Billy and Stu are part of the group, and that betrayal is part of the foundation of the world. But then I'm thinking about Scream 2. No one from the main group except for Mickey, who always gives creepy vibes, is revealed to be a betrayer. I'm thinking about Scream 3. No one except for Roman, who's kind of an outsider who is always giving asshole vibes, is revealed to be a betrayer. Two of the main cast that we think are being terrorized are betrayers in 4. Two of the people that we think are being terrorized in this scene are betrayers. It starts to feel, I don't want to exactly say, I don't want to give it the term redundant, but I need to start, I don't know.
You need an evolution on the murder threat.
Yeah. I don't think that's unreasonable. I mean, I think there's two ways you go about it. Yeah. It's one, this is a part of the series, really. I think Mickey does count in terms of like that you do have that moment where you are betrayed by Mickey. I think 3, you really just don't have it. I think one of the really unfortunate things about 3 is they never found a way to put Sid in the amazing group featuring Parker Posey, Scott Foley, Emily Mortimer.
Roman literally has to introduce himself to Sidney in the moment where he introduces himself to Sidney as the killer.
I would have rather... Go ahead.
No.
I was just going to say I would have rather come up with a really stupid reason why Sidney is a consultant on Stab and is all of their friends.
In a lot of ways, the betrayal fits the universe, but in a dumb way where like the betrayal comes from her brother that she never knew she had and knew nothing about. And like
exactly.
That was the first one, that the betrayal is because her mom was a slut. She knew nothing about any of this guy.
Exactly. If she'd been a consultant on Stab and Roman had been like, my only dream is to do your vision justice. I know these are campy movies, but we're really going high concept here. And ultimately she was like, he's like my brother. Then what a great betrayal. But it's just all out of nowhere. So anyway, returning to it, it is a common theme of Screams that there is a betrayal. But I think you're right insofar as things change so much trying to both keep up with the changing times and also not do the same thing every movie that I don't think it's entirely unreasonable to say, if I'm going to be full steam behind this franchise, I would like to see some version of the killer that is not a betrayal, that is not, it's somebody in the group as we always knew. And I think because Scream 5 focuses so much on being a requel and essentially mimicking what happened in 1 in an updated way for a new audience that is both entirely divorced from it if you need it to be, but completely connected to it if you want that to be the case, sort of puts us back to square one when it comes to that idea of maybe evolving who the killers are and are they betraying us or not. And of course 6 doesn't help, so 7 would be an interesting place to really flip the script on that. What do you got, Nico?
I want to comment specifically on this image because it is lacking 2 of the strongest characters in the whole film, which are the unbelievable performances from Sid and Gale. I also want to give it up to Detective Judy Hopps. I know her last name is not Judy Hopps, but I can't call her Judy Barely Legal Twink, can I? So, Detective Judy was a lovable, silly part of 4. I love her contribution to the final scene. I hate her murder here. I want to talk about her and her adorable son. Is he Wes in this?
That's Wes.
Yes.
Wes.
And it's really funny because he is like 24 here and like kind of
25 almost, I think. Yeah.
And he actually looks it. He does not look like a teenager. And that's kind of what made, I
feel like that's why they bleached his hair.
Yeah. They kind of forced him into a younger position, which made his death even like he did not have that youth that Neve Campbell had going for her in the first movie. He did not have that like sort of innocence to him. This looks like a fucking fully grown fucking man playing a high schooler.
But to be fair, so did Skeet Ulrich.
But exactly that point even.
Okay.
His death is so weird because there is that absolutely Wolf Legrand Carnal Studios shower sequence.
Yeah.
Which
this hip is obscene. I am not complaining, but the word I would use for that hip is obscene. You'd have to edit that out of Freeform.
100%, especially given the fact that there is no other queer male character, or like honestly, like to me, he's the gay one.
If I had to guess.
Honestly,
the hair.
The hair. It's very weird to me that there are not more gay men in Scream. I love the queer woman representation. I thought that's what we were getting here because he just is kind of giving it a little bit, plus the blonde hair.
That would piss me off even more, though.
Because then we killed our only gay. I know.
This and another sequence from 6 where they murder one of the only other actual visible queers. I genuinely found those sequences to be, the word I would use was torturous. This sequence, because I don't know that I love the character Judy so much that I love, what's her name? Marley.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Yes.
Now I need to look up what her name is.
I-
Marley Shelton?
While you're looking it up, I just want to say this character is definitely gay because, as you can see, the shower is large enough for both him and Austin Wolf behind him.
Yeah,
so
seriously.
this is basically the Senate hearing floor.
Yeah, great joke. Great timely reference. Marley Shelton, from such movies as Sugar and Spice. I was even saying on 4, she always felt like an actor who could have been in the original Screams. And so getting her to play a former classmate, red herring for 4, was really cute and fun. This is another one of those bizarre evolutions for this film where, like, oh, by the way, I also have an 18-year-old son all of a sudden. So 10 years ago,
And
I
he
had
is
an 8-year-old
very
son.
pubic.
10 years ago, I had an 8-year-old son, and you didn't know it in the 4th movie. Oh,
which to me though, it's like they nailed that opportunity because
Yeah, not
you don't.
by any means. Yeah.
you don't know enough about, and that's the thing, you don't know enough about Judy to think that she doesn't have a son. And then there's this whole thing where it's like, is she trolling for a dad for this kid, and that's why she's so, and
the reveal of Mark and the kids for Sydney. You know what? Nothing in 4 contradicts Mark and the kids, even if she goes by Sydney Prescott still. That's her famous name. Of course she wouldn't want her kid's name out in the public.
Exactly. This is why I'm telling you, 4 watches so much better in a post-5 world. 4 becomes so good. It is like, it invigorates it as a prequel. It's so good.
And the things that 5 and 6 do to invigorate everything that came before it were great. But I feel like everything about the sequence of killing both Judy and her son, for one thing, the emotion that they gained from it is only worth about 20% of the time they put into it.
That I definitely agree with.
Great read.
Understand that something about these sequences, this one and Annika's death in 6, are of course trying to illustrate, isn't it horrific and tragic? And, you know, you're watching this whole sequence of Wes get, like, showering, and then get out of the shower, and then go into his room, and then go downstairs, and then take out plates, in part to ramp up the dramatic tension.
Yeah, and they keep having door reveal moments where
be a jump scare. Absolutely, that's exactly what they're doing. And at the same time, they are also trying to emphasize these are real people. This was a real mother, and they were a real single mother and son who had built this life, and this was her world. And isn't it tragic? Isn't it horrible? And when it's ultimately revealed that their deaths were just to be horrific and didn't really have any revenge element and were just to up the gore factor, yes, isn't it sad? Isn't it tragic? But then it just crosses the line into overwrought to the point of torturous and tedious for me. And that takes me out of the story at a certain point when it goes on that long.
And I just want to add a layer to this. And actually, TK, you said a word that I really want to bring as a question to you as a film theorist, as somebody who, you know, I look to understand these things better. Something that I've come to recognize as I'm watching Scream is a window represents vulnerability, but a door represents security. In fact, we even see the manipulation of doors as creating a bastion. We see that in both 1 and 4, Sydney's bedroom is capable of 1 and 3, Sydney's bedroom is capable of creating a lock with 2 doors. Yes. Doors represent safety in this franchise. But the first stabbing of 5 involves opening the door, and he's right there. These 2 kills are as though the door magic, the door ward, no longer works. Is that about the requel saying the notion that a door is safety is an older idea? Or do you think that's because I mean, it has to be intentional. I mean, like these people watch these movies where they make them.
Well, and the other big part of it is he's in a glass shower and doesn't get killed. It's that constant fake out that Keva was just talking about. Like, you see this moment and think he is at his most vulnerable. Go ahead, Keva.
And I even want to double down on what you're saying, because how does his mother die? Broad daylight in her front yard.
Out in front of she can't even go in the door. The killer,
same time.
Yep.
And her death is part of the only thing that allows for her son's death, because the killer probably got the keys off her body.
Kevo, change this image before you guys don't like the stuff I start saying. Seriously, change this damn image.
Oh no, I'm gonna keep putting it up, man.
This one does have gratuitous kills already by that point, because why do they kill the douchebag with the car?
That
they just, because I think it's because Amber doesn't like him, and because Ricky doesn't like people talking to Amber like that. So
that's Kyle Gallner.
Yeah,
is it really?
That is literally one of the best television performances of all time on any show ever.
Gross, weird rapist.
And it's insane because Kristen Bell set the standard for horror-ish live performance. I don't think Scream could exist without Veronica Mars.
I agree.
In which modern Scream, that is.
Yeah. The Scream the show would not exist without Veronica Mars.
In a world, that gave us also Kyle Gallner, who gives us this, very Scream performance.
So, they kill him kind of for no reason. He's not a part of it. He's not part of the formula. I like that they killed Judy. I know it's a bummer, but I do like, because that's a really good one. That is the fact that she is running into the house and we all think, no, girl, you just totally fucking missed him. Like, there's no way you're getting in that house in time. You think she's about to run in to see him just blood-eagled or something. And instead, the killer comes out and stabs her. I think that's fantastic. That's another example, because that's, the doors don't matter if you're outside the doors. And then what we get with Wes in a glass house behind doors that keep closing and there's no killer. I would have liked
he's at the front door and you think he's going to open it and see his mother's body, but instead he locks himself, we later learn, in with the killer.
I would have rather not done that. I would have rather done all the scares, and then I think just him seeing his mom would have been great. I think that was enough, because I did like the tension of him in the shower, him opening the pantry, him opening the fridge, and I think punctuating it just with poor kid, it's not actually him that's the victim that's never going to have to deal with the rest of this. His mom is dead, and now he's one of the final boys, and this is his life forever now. I think that would have been a better use of the actor, the character, and what they set up. And, to Kevo's point, I do think it is a little bit of like one of the missteps they make with this latter half is thinking that just like stacking the kills means that these are even more Scream, and he's just like one too many. I think he would have been a good friend to keep going. I think he would have done well in New York with them, and
I'm just about 25 minutes out of New York. He would have done great.
He would have done great. Right. Listen, so yeah, I mean, I basically agree all around, but I do think, to Nico's point, they're really playing around with what Scream has previously established about boundaries and protection, and it goes all the way to the culmination, which is the house that they're in is Stu Macher's house.
Then Kevo, then we got to wrap live.
I think there are ways even in which, like, a lot of the things that it does here, like, and talking it through a lot helped. There's ways in which it is part of the art. There's ways in which it escalates the art. There's ways in which a lot of this echoes huge, important moments from Scream history.
Yeah.
I even feel like the fact that his hair is bleached is in a lot of ways a testament to Casey, one of the original killings.
Wow.
There's so many things about it.
The blonde bimbo gets killed.
And like it's a juxtaposition of the Casey sequence where instead of seeing her chased around the house, we know he's being menaced and he has no idea until the final moment. And it's there's ways in which it's elevating and escalating the art, but there's also ways in which it's goddamn torture. And
I just realized he's Wes Craven.
Yes, that was on purpose.
I just made that connection. Wow.
The toast at the party to Wes is actually meant to be to Wes Craven. And if you give me just one moment to pull it up, there's a lot of actors who ADR'd in for that scene. Matthew Lillard, Drew Barrymore, Jamie Kennedy, Hayden Panettiere, Henry Winkler, and Adam Brody all provide voiceovers at the party for the toast to Wes in honor of Wes Craven.
That's very cute.
The one that literally made my throat is Henry Winkler.
Right?
Of his industry. Such a guy who literally set the standard for 20 years for cool. Can you imagine? Like every time he walked into a room for a couple of years, he thought to himself, at least 5 people are pretending to be me. Like, that fills my heart, man. Henry Winkler. Great. Thank you. That's an amazing bit of Scream trivia I did not know. We follow an unbelievable YouTube channel, Behind the Mask. This guy is so involved in the Scream fandom that he is producing an authorized, novelized sequel to Scream seasons 1 and 2. So this guy, we watch his stuff regularly. When there's a new video, we watch it within 2 hours. We love this guy's work.
Shout out.
Big shout out. And we've gotten to see a lot of his stuff and see a lot of the behind the scenes things we maybe didn't realize, stuff that was hidden in other scripts or on the cutting room floor. And that's actually something I don't know that I've caught on his channel before. So I feel like thanks to Behind the Mask, there's so few major Scream secrets I don't know. So it was really great getting to see one on air, Kevo. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Now, I do need to move us a little bit forward in 5.
Yeah.
This is, number one, the hottest Nev Campbell has ever looked, ever in the history of the human world. It is distracting how unbelievably beautiful Julia.
Sure,
no,
sure.
you're allowed. You're
Yeah,
allowed.
go for it.
Unbelievable. Okay,
Julia
well,
Monica.
11-year-old Nico just definitely revealed his enormous crush on Julia Salinger. Oh, God.
And he's the only one. Whatever will we do?
I think it is unbelievable what incredible women these two women. I'm so embarrassed I called her Julia.
No,
It's
it's all
like
good.
not at all the biggest mistake any of us have ever made.
I think the two women here represent really a survivor story for women in Weinstein's Hollywood. These two women literally had to survive the grossest pervert in the history of cinema.
Not really,
And
but
and these two women are still strong, brilliant, funny, some of the best dialogue in the whole movie. They have my favorite kill of all 6 movies ever in this together. The two of them being so welcoming of Sam and Tara into their world, creating a sisterhood, a protectorate, is really beautiful. They do not behave as the mothers because that would disempower the daughters. Instead, they behave as a sorority,
sisters,
empowering each girl as they go. It is a dynamic transformation of what are some pretty redundant ideas in horror. Now, one of the things that I really want to say that this stands testament to, though, is that both women absolutely represent the Rue motto. If you stay ready to kill a ghost face, you gotta get ready to kill a ghost face. The smartest thing that the producers of 5 and 6 did away with is the idea of these two characters needing to prepare themselves to face a ghost face. Instead, their readiness is indicative of why they are these two characters. I was blown away by every moment from both actors that they gave in 5 and ultimately 5 and 6.
The number of times in 4 that Sidney asked Prescott right into a room without a weapon, I was like, you know better. I know it's been a while. And I feel like maybe that moment even she was like, yep, okay. Because she came into this movie ready. She knows to be ready, and not just that, but like you were saying, the sororal feeling. There's no moment of awkwardness for Sam, and Sam is ready for it. And if they were different people, she'd almost hug her right away. But she's like, no, I'm just here to help. Really, really amazing performance from her character.
I want to just real quickly say it's a bummer that the best way for this all to work apparently is for Dewey to not make it and for Gail and Dewey to have not been together.
Yeah.
I don't love those decisions. I especially don't love Dewey not making it. I think
but he looks in this movie. Oh my God, every daddy fantasy I've ever had about any guy down
truly chef's kiss for David Arquette. So handsome. Does a great job.
On second watch, I hated the story of it a lot less. I feel like the interaction between him and Gail worked. It's just it's
the interaction actually really worked. This was
Cyborg as the panel's only bisexual. I had this awkward moment 1 minute ago.
This idea that it didn't work, but they remained friends. You know that I think she says at one point that he's her best friend. I really don't love that Han and Leia didn't stay together. I don't love this. I don't like that vision of like, we get it. Parents get divorced. I don't need it from the movies. I would have liked that they stayed together. I would have liked if Dewey had stayed in New York. I like the idea that Gail went to New York. I did not love in 4 that she kind of gave up her career. what I just realized in you guys talking about it though, and thinking about the dialogue and what's said and how people are, the fact that, you know, they do stay ready and they don't have to get ready. The writing of this movie, the situation, everything, lines up really well if they ever want to do any kind of interquel between 4 and 5, where there was
that was going to be one of my final points. What a great way to bring that in.
Yeah, there could have been one more. The fact that they are so on the ball 10 years later really opens the possibility. This is just like Mark and the kids and Wes being Judy Hopps' son. There's absolutely nothing that says that there wasn't one other incident that meant that, you know, somewhere between Gail getting her career, her journalism and writing career back together, Sydney having this family, that they got to a point where they just said, if we ever hear anything, I've got a bug out bag. I've got a plan to leave. I've got a plan to stay. I know where to stash the kids. I have my panic room, my gun safe. And I just think that's cool. I think the Scream has always done well when it talks around a lot of time and doesn't try and tell you every single thing that happened to justify itself.
And thank you for this word, because I absolutely adore that as a concept, and the way that we were talking about portmanteau sitcoms need to become a thing.
Yeah.
I love this, and I really feel like it's one of the weird things that Fast and Furious has gotten down well in advance of a lot of other franchises.
And they do it in like post-credit scenes so well. It's weird.
Because I think exactly what you're saying speaks a lot to the ways that they tied 5 around 4 and what you didn't see in 4. And I think we could see a Kirby interquel. I think there are a lot of, and I love the nomenclature of this franchise where the killer has returned. What do you mean the killer has returned?
It's a different person every time. Yeah.
But that's just how they talk. The killer is back.
And they always say he. It's been a woman a bunch of times.
Yep. Oh my God. What's the ratio at this point?
I actually want to comment on that. Something you were saying with this interquel. I actually, if Scream wants to hire me, I would love to do a story about Spooky Girl, who is not quite a ghost face. She doesn't kill anybody. She doesn't murder anyone. She just tortures the town when there's no ghost face.
I think that is a perfect example of why, they would not be like, we just hole up in a bunker, but they're still prepared. They're like, oh, there are psychos of all stripes, and this one didn't kill anybody, but we all had a horrible 2015.
Now, I want to say that April is not my favorite killer. Richie is, and I hate that. Like,
isn't it Amber?
Amber, thank you. Ugh.
Which proves.
Yep, that's exactly the thing.
This actually is an incredible performance. I just want to say...
The only thing I want to throw out real quick, the moment early on in the hospital where Richie and Amber fight is such an amazing Scream clue moment. It is so weird, and yet it makes sense because they're both that type of person where they seem like the no filter she seems like the no filter friend. He seems like the nerd who doesn't realize that, he shouldn't be saying anything, but they're kind of generationally, it doesn't work. They shouldn't be talking to each other. And the fact that they have this one moment is such a beautiful breadcrumb. And Amber in that moment is kind of a goth bitch. And the fact that, actually, that's the only thing that Scream 3 kind of has, that goth bitch killer. The fact that she never goes full Spice playing Miley Cyrus is a good thing. And that Amber really just takes on a fake Stu Macher out of nowhere. I get what that's the requel. They're trying to be like, look, it's a Stu Macher, but it's a girl this time.
Kevo?
It's just...
I'm sorry, Kevin, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you remember your commentary on what made Amber different than Stu? April? Is it April?
It's Amber.
It's Amber. I don't.
Your description of it at the time was beautiful. You said, Stu made it seem like he honestly is disturbed. Like, if you knew this kid, you would just think this real person is sick. Her performance is a performance. It does not have the authenticity of Matthew Lillard's ability to dissociate from reality.
Yeah.
And it is a beautiful performance from a talented actress. But
and I even think that fits her character and what her character is trying to do, where it is all
very
performance
much.
and these kids are like Billy Loomis and Stu Macher, for as much as they were about creating the chaos in the performance, were truly deranged. And I feel like these people aren't deranged in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It is more about the performance than it is about the violence and the chaos. And I think it shows in their performance in a way that helps their character, but then it makes the most satisfying thing about Amber as the killer is that she is so satisfying to kill. I mean, and I love that for her.
Stu has this energy of, come on, man, the whole time, that when it turns psycho, he's still saying, come on, man, but he's saying, like, come on, man, I want to stab her. And it just seems crazier and crazier. She has goth girl vocal fry energy, which can immediately translate into a really scary killer energy. And she could be doing that in the exact same evolution where you've just discovered that the goth girl actually does want to kill you.
Great, but I'm scared of denim.
As you should be. She's probably going to kill you. But what they do instead is just have her flip. Also, like, any script editor, anybody listening to that thing, the two of them calling each other babe doesn't work at all. It so kills a mood in terms of, like,
I wish they weren't sexual with each other at all.
Because they should have just been friends, dude. Would have been good. It didn't need to be romantic.
Yeah,
and that's
completely agree.
Balls.
Completely agree. And I actually think even having somebody be like, so you're just fucking a high schooler, that's crazier than murder, and him being like, don't be gross. Ew. That's not what it's about. It's about two fans. Yeah.
It's about, like, I don't want to be weird, but, like, I think we can all agree that we've been in physical situations where we aren't maybe as attracted to the person as we are emotionally charged by the situation, and have thus experienced a sexual experience with another person we maybe wouldn't have normally had. If you want me to think that these two fuck after every kill, sure, fine, whatever. But I don't see a connection.
Yeah, they're not in a relationship. It's also just unseemly in that way where, like,
yes, other straight partner. I am straight with you, partner.
We, like, X-Men fans don't find it acceptable that Mr. Sinister, the person that does genocide, was part of the Holocaust. It's just unseemly. We don't want it. We don't talk about even the worst villains. We don't like them working with Nazis. Let's just not ever talk about it. Would an evil person work with Nazis? Sure, but this is fantasy. We don't want to do it.
I just want to say that to that point, like, exactly what you're saying in terms of we try to protect certain identities. The Minions are psychologically programmed to follow the most evil person on Earth. And for the period that World War II was going on, there was a more evil penguin that they followed at the South Pole. So they wouldn't be Nazi
worked around that. Yep.
Right. So, like, you have fun kikiing and rooting for the killer no matter who it is. Don't make it a dude who is grooming a kid, because that's just, we just don't need it. It just, and everything else would have been fine, and they didn't have to have a sexual relationship.
Especially because, we were saying how much we enjoy Richie as the killer, and not to transition us too quickly, but that is one of the cool things about Scream 6, where these films always need to be a response to the things that happen in these films in one way or another. And the killers being such a huge response to the death of the killer in this one, echoing Scream 2 in terms of Mrs. Loomis, all of these things, it was really great. And so if we could not have that element to this character, like, you can say she's 18, but I'm really tired of hearing that. Just don't put it in the character at all.
Especially because we know that Jack Quaid is probably 23 to 25. It's not that he's 19.
It doesn't just sour the character; it sours the product.
Yeah, it's
even if he's Sam's age at 23, like, you don't, you just don't.
That's still, you know, that's the hugest 5-year gap.
And Sam is so fucking good with these to her kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Truly,
She
Sam
that
is
line
the
is so big for her. Yeah.
and she is so protective of these kids. She loves. It's like
she was their babysitter. Like, yeah, it's just that we just absolutely did not need to do that. I did like their
I wish
rapport.
we had a real human man.
He's very, very beautiful. I did like their rapport. And I think you guys are so right. They absolutely could have just been people who met on Reddit, which is exactly what happened. Didn't have to be sexual. Anyway, on to 6.
Well, I just want to say that kill between Sid and Gail. It's when she's like, "Ha ha, I killed Dewey and it was great." Like, okay, first of all, I don't know how that human being, unless she has been cycling HGH and Tren. And
well, we've established that the ghost face mask gives you powers.
No, this gives her extraordinary extra powers. She basically becomes like Megatron, and that is like a even more powerful version of Megatron.
I mean, I think if we get to 7, I think 8, 9, and 10 would change things up by making the killer not that super powered, because it's just. It gets to a point where it's like, well, I can't quite predict what's going to happen in this film because there's somebody here who could literally drop from a 30-story building to do a kill and just land on his feet like a cat, because that's the kind of stuff that happens in Scream movies that just physically is not possible. So there's so many moments where you're like, I don't.
You creep up and then he leaves. Like,
exactly.
You're screwed no matter what you do.
Exactly. So you can't really have these moments where you're like, I see where the killer could come in here, because there's always this possibility that the killer is going to lift 2 tons of concrete to come into the room.
This was pointless when the killer can just burst through walls.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kool-Aid Man.
I want to use this as a great way to transition.
Yeah, please. We gotta.
The thing about 6 that I think is most significant is that it attempts to reinvent the franchise by making New York not just part of the backdrop, but an element of the story. I appreciate a lot of what 2 attempted to do by making college an element of the backdrop, but it always felt very much like the fraternity, sorority stuff was sort of superimposed in on a horror narrative. This felt like a horror movie taking place in New York. I do think that the college stuff here is a little superimposed in a negative way, but I did feel that New York really felt like it was part of the story. The subway was utilized well in a way that we understand the subway to be. The lights flicker on the subway if you've ever been on it. That is just a thing. The biggest problem for me with the entirety of 6 is actually I have 2 problems. Number 1, having Dermot Mulroney run is like while trying to give dialogue.
You shouldn't have done that to him.
It's actually like
it's rude.
It's rude.
Very rude.
It was mean.
I mean, he's delicious. Oh my
Yeah.
god! But like,
so don't embarrass him like that.
It defeats the ability to accept any time he may spend as Ghostface.
Yeah.
Because it reminds us of his humanity.
Yeah.
In a way that left me wondering how many of the kills he could have truly been responsible for.
Yeah.
Angel going, I don't have breath. It's just him.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Number 2, the number of completely empty streets in New York at night is so fucking ridiculous. You
Truly.
can go up ahead and fuck yourself with that.
Truly.
Empty alley.
For one, I was going to say, for one thing, there's not this much street real estate that calls itself an alley in the entirety of.
There would be restaurants on this alley.
Yeah. There's fully a Best Buy in there. Yeah, I would believe this was taking place in New Haven, but absolutely not. Most especially the violence, most especially the murder, most especially the college students doing murder. But no, I'm sorry. In New York, this is a Best Buy at this point. There's just...
You could drive down this. This is a one-way street.
Yeah,
no.
That's just absolutely not. And like for no reason, because there are alleys in New York. Like there is, they could have figured it out. This is just it was such a weird choice. Anyway, another really great fake out, change up on the kill.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Also, like just another vector for stuff these two guys, it could be more people that they knew who were in cahoots in number 7. Just very interesting thing to do. I really give the team props for 2 phenomenal intro kills.
And in layered ways,
Yeah.
you know, I love 4. I was defending it just an hour ago, but
Yes, you
I
were.
don't think that those are layered kills. I think
No, it's
Stab is the same kill in a cyclical way.
Yeah.
This was
It's a
layered.
cute little joke. It's very funny. Like the fact that it's
Yeah.
Anna Paquin and is it Anna Camp?
It's Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell, thank you.
That's why I was bringing her up before. I was like, look, it's the Scream ladies.
And then it's Shanae Grimes and somebody else that are the first one. But like the fact that it's like a little bit of a joke, it's a movie within a movie, that's all super fun. And I think can work. I think is, especially coming from the Scream movies that came before it, that type of camp, super good. If 5 was trying to be like, we still are campy, we still have a lot of self-referentialness, thank you Mindy for existing, but we're pretty serious. We're not fucking around. These characters get the shit beat out of them. One of them is really wrestling with her parentage and a lot of trouble. Then having this kill that's like a little bit more serious, and the layers are a little bit more not gotcha, but more like there is stuff happening in this world. I think it was a really strong choice to start things off.
You know, and Kevo, I love that you have up this particular image because as we're talking about these early kills in Scream 6, one of the things that stands to mind is this is one of the most cast-heavy Screams. So often Scream tries to keep it to a very narrow focus, but because this has so much legacy to build on, you know, we have so many carrots. We have so many characters from Dormant. I can't even say his name normally, which is why I type it as Moment or Rooney. I literally purposely mistype his name because I have so much trouble saying it. Anyway, I wanted to make a joke about the fact that you can smell the musk on Danny in every scene he's in. But, you know, the reality is Scream 6 does a couple of things that reset the franchise, and that image is such a great representation of it. We see the biggest expanse. Oh my God, yeah, he's so fucking beautiful. Pug on She-Hulk. He's in Sirens. He's in the other 2.
AJ and the Queen.
He is, you know, a really accomplished actor who has yet to really earn a credible stripe as this is that character. And unfortunately, I just don't think Danny's the one. But
I think he could be, but he's not yet.
Yeah, this cast is so full because what it has to do is it has to somehow make us realize that Sydney not being in the movie is okay. Yep. They don't need to make us think, oh wait, Sydney wasn't in that, because we're going to notice it no matter what. They address it with a line of dialogue, but this cast needs to make us think that Sydney not being in the movie is okay. Moment Rooney, I got his name right the way I type it. Thank God. That's why I type it that way. Moment Rooney is such, and by the way, sir, you can say my name is Vico Nasillo anytime you want. You are such an accomplished, handsome man. You were in fact at my best friend's wedding. He is so much of what is expected to make us not notice the huge absence left by David Arquette and Neve Campbell, because David Arquette is another factor that this movie needs to replace.
Yep.
And it's a very difficult task to replace somebody with so much charisma, if not screen time alone.
And I give them so much credit for picking an actor of David Arquette's ilk. And of that era, somebody who would have shown up at the same auditions that David Arquette was getting when he got the role of Dewey, to be, you know, to kind of give you the constant scream, is it a fake out or is it not, of, well, don't worry, we filled the role. There's always a Dewey in the Scream film, so don't worry.
Yeah,
we filled the Dewey role, but oh shit, there's a new Dewey. Does that mean this is the killer? No, that would be too obvious. But no, thinking it's obvious would be too obvious. And you just, when Screams can do that, they are really smart. When he says, get me everything you can on Kirby, you start to think, did Kirby maybe go insane?
Yeah.
And everybody is a suspect. I think, and yeah, I think they did a really good job with the inflated cast. Go ahead.
something I really love about that moment too is something I love doing is when you rewatch these, looking at moments like that and seeing, do they fit the narrative of if this person was the killer? Is that a weird thing for him to have said? Was that just for the audience?
Yeah.
No, he really could have looked her up, and then later it's just what he says he found he's lying about.
Yeah.
It's stuff like when I don't care to have learned what her name was, but sister roommate killer, when she's lying there on her phone,
What's your
is that
price
whole
for
sequence
flight?
just for the audience?
Yeah.
Or is there an element of that where that makes sense after the reveal? And yeah, a lot of stuff in these two movies after the fact, they really do still fit what the killer is ultimately revealed to be,
Yeah.
and feed into that narrative instead of just being kind of random crap, which is
Yep.
always weird.
I actually made the pretty gross posit of, do you think it's her dad fucking her when she's having super loud sex, that's what she becomes known for? And of course, Jonah and Kevo were a little bit less disruptive films about it, and were like, it's probably pre-recorded, but frankly, look at him. He could be on top of anybody and you would clap. So, the thing that this movie gave me was Party of Five, but Scream. I'm sorry, that was to Cyborg's question. 14-year-old Nico, Nev Campbell in Party of Five, always. Julia Salinger was the absolute breathtaking love of my life.
But also, it's more like 10-year-old Nico. Let's just be clear here.
Yeah, until I met Claire Dunphy, who is the ultimate woman, and so I'm just gonna stay gay.
Same era too. She could have been in the mix at the same time. Thank you very much, Billy Madison. Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, Party of Five.
Oh my God!
Wait, is this the first time you're thinking of that?
Yes!
Oh my God.
I
We're
go to
getting to
Ed.
this later. Oh, okay.
Well, and
I
not
always
just
go
that,
to Party of Five.
Go to Ed.
And now you're saying Claire Dunphy, and you have a type. Look who's right here on the screen.
There she is.
You love severe, blonde white women. You love a lot of things. Men, women. You love a lot of things on both.
He likes a smorgasbord, people. He's a buffet boy.
He's a buffet boy.
I like to think of it as being
everything on screen right
pansexual.
now is for you.
Kind of, yeah. It's
Yes.
Daddies and Hot Blondes. Being a pansexual doubled my chance of a date on a Saturday night. I want to say the thing that Kirby provides me, right? When I first got into video games as like a serious person who appreciated storytelling and narrative, the franchise that most took my heart was Final Fantasy, and the character that most captured my imagination of any character was Yuna. And one of the things that I wanted what?
You cannot be comparing this person to Yuna.
No. I swear to God, I'm not.
Oh God, okay.
Don't worry. And as I was coming into this fandom, somebody said to me, please don't worry, Yuna's story isn't done. It's a very unique thing. This character you've attached to is so special. She's getting a sequel game. And it looked from the promotional images I saw, she was getting one of her stable side characters, Riku. And there was this other woman who looked so clearly as a stand-in for one of the characters, Lulu, in the character of Pain. And ultimately, Pain is an incredible entry in the Final Fantasy universe. But one of the things you kind of have to accept is like, but what would Final Fantasy X-2 have been with Lulu instead of Pain? Getting Kirby in Scream 6 is like, you never have to ask this question about this major character where you're like, I can even see the entry she would go in. The idea that the creators behind 5 and 6 took the time to delve into a much maligned film, not only is for the lowest critical response score, but it is the lowest financial earning. And that is a very tough thing to contend with. That is ultimately the dark mark on the franchise for so many people, just by Wikipedia view alone. So that Kirby was not just a character that was rescued from what could have been viewed as a trash heap, but is celebrated as a major player, as a Sydney type character. This for me was just such a rewarding thing for a fan who was so excited to come back to a franchise after a decade.
And I really give them so much credit for doing the thing with her that I'm like, why has nobody else done this? She goes on to be a cop. I mean, she goes on to be an FBI agent. But the point is, she suffers a horrible criminal incident and goes on to study why these incidents happen and to gain the power to investigate, to stop them. She knows how to fire a gun. She knows how to look for clues to figure out who the killer is. She profiles. She does all this stuff that I'm thinking to myself, why is Sydney working at a helpline? It's a lovely thing don't get me wrong, but she lives in a house that is at once too safe and not safe enough and is working on a helpline. None of these things are saving her. And then has a whole other incident, goes another 10 years and has done absolutely nothing to make herself more ready or to accept the fact that this is her career. And maybe it's the only thing that I don't love about 5 is that she shows up like, oh, I'm ready to kill the killer because I'm always ready now because I'm used to this. But what's your job, Sydney? What do you do all day?
Because it seems like you're just a super hot mom. Sorry, I don't mean to focus on it, but it just seems like you're a super hot mom.
Yeah.
Talking with her kids. I'm sorry. She looks so good. It is literally
she really does look amazing.
For a week.
She absolutely does look amazing. But, the thing I always say is like, she should have a personal security firm or something. And it just never makes sense to me that she shows up either entirely unprepared in the first 4 or now too prepared, but with no explanation of what's going on. And Kirby, sorry, go ahead.
I am really comfortable with the idea of Sydney not making that her life because I really think there is something about a character who doesn't want to make this thing that happens to them sporadically throughout their life. Buffy could never not be the Slayer. Literally, she could never not be the Slayer. But Sydney's not the Slayer. She doesn't literally have to go around every day stopping killers. I think, though, there is something about more people do need to be changed by this. And I think Sydney not being that needs to be justified by more people like Kirby going into this field, like Gale returning to investigative journalism, because Gale leaving that field and retiring to Woodsboro in 4
definitely did not make sense.
Betrayal. Yeah, that was always more of a betrayal than anything with Sydney not going into doing more, because that was Gale's life before this and during a lot of it.
It's more that it's just tough to see Sydney keep coming back, which is actually one of the things that works about 6 so much for me, is that Sydney's solution that time around is not to go. And it's, it starts to become ghost faces are just hurricanes. There's gonna be another one and you are in a lot of danger, but you also don't have to live in a hurricane area. And when hurricane season comes, you can go somewhere else. And I do kind of like that. Like the recurrence of a ghost face for whatever reason is going to happen. We no longer are in the Scream universe. We no longer live in a world where we think this is the last one. There will be another one, but what does everybody do? Well, some people become meteorologists, some people move out of the zone, some people completely fortify their house, whatever. I do really like that it's Gale who has money and resources and, a career that allowed her to investigate. That is the person in this one who is trying to in some way provide assistance. But then I also really love that Kirby is in the mix, did her own thing to become prepared for ghost faces to show up again and is ready to kick ass.
I think that did that hurricane thing just tumble out of your mouth, or is that something you've been percolating? Nope. That is one of the most brilliant analyses that I have probably seen of horror in general, but this specific franchise, I really love that, and especially where it has come to as a whole. I love that view, especially the way that it then does trickle down to characters like Gale and Kirby, and the way that they can choose or not to choose to interact with this as a whole. I really, really, really love that.
Thank you.
I went downstairs and had myself a Boston cream donut, so hopefully I stopped being so insanely horny for Julia Salinger. One of the things I do want to comment on about this film, in terms of the evolution of the horror, like we're talking about, is this film asked us to accept not just a change of setting, but a change in rule format. One of the things that the earliest Scream films continued to do was iterate the idea of, and I want to say it the right way because it really is a triangle, but it's a triangle of involvement, not a triangle of responsibility. By Sidney Prescott having an affair with both, by Maureen Prescott having an affair with both Cotton Weary and Mr. Loomis, I guess, we get a sort of multi-tiered effect that continues on down. Now, there is a further back point, and it's all very a proper artist with a knife, but they transported him for life in that Rena Reynolds ultimately has Roman, all roads lead to Rome. And we then get this new idea in 4, but TK, I loved you so much bringing up the Vice Chancellor of Shoes, which is the joke that I made about being in education and Laura Roslin being in education, myself being in education, and her becoming so important. So I used to call her the Vice Chancellor of Shoes because I said I am as good as the Vice Chancellor of Shoes. Anyway, we see this idea of her being like, I'm fucked up too, but nobody asks me about it. And so one of the things that this film franchise does at 5 is it changes the perspective on who we need to iterate around, because now the Loomises are like the Palpatines in 9. They have become part of the functional world of the heroes. We need to get a new fixture point for the villains. And so Robbie Kirsch, is it? Right? Robbie Kirsch's family becomes the focal point. Richie, thank you. Richie Kirsch, right? I was so concerned that I didn't have the last name right. Richie Kirsch becomes the focal point for the new narrative perspective. Now, TK, last week you said, I wish there'd be a family killer. And so we tried to look at each other like, and tried to hold it down. But of course, Dermot Mulrooney's character.
Now that
thank you. I actually genuinely think that the son and daughter are very well cast here. What unfortunate things that I'm going to connect these actors with, because these characters suck in a well played way, but I do not care for these characters. This is a really interesting take on the everything comes back to family, just in a bad way.
If you had swapped Quinn and the other girl, the girl who dies, Mindy's girlfriend, Annika, if you had swapped them, and I mean swapped the actors too, and you would have said that this is a found family, this is not a blood family. Dermot Mulroney collects serial killer children. If you had swapped them, I think it works. I think the brother really works because he is it's probably you fucking weird perv, you stupid incel. And then it's what we're doing with Dermot Mulroney. It's the hammering back and forth of like, we've said it too much, it's not him. Well, no, that's the fake out, is you have said it so much, it obviously is him. But then you can't predict the fold of it's a family. And she is just so blasé and not there. And like the discussion is she's a weird fuck puppet. And meanwhile you have Annika, who is such a great character, and she is part of the group. She's the one who goes up and tries to stop Tara from getting date raped. She's not one of the core 4, but she's the one that looks out for a friend group that she is now a part of. She and Mindy have what I think is a really like loving, burgeoning relationship. So for that to be the person, for me, would have totally changed the game on this. And it is only kind of that, it's not only that, but the fact that Quinn is such a weak link just kind of makes the structure of the whole thing of the reveal fall apart a little bit. And the actor's not great either. Like when it's her turn to be a killer type, she's just kind of, I don't know. Yeah,
no.
it's just a little, I don't care for
Everything
it.
about her character and the misdirect and the reveal and her performance is unbelievably 90s.
Yeah.
The misdirect being, I'm a slut and I have loud sex.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's super dated.
Yeah.
And the fact that she then turns around and is calling Tara and Sam sluts in the reveal scene when she's going after them. Everything about the character is bizarre, and everything about what they did to the character of Annika is that was the other one I was talking about during the discussion of 5, where I felt like hold on, everything about the ladder sequence, the window and then the ladder and reaching through the door, everything about this was genuinely just torturing an incredibly innocent queer character who actually had nothing to do with the revenge narrative that is being sought.
Yeah.
She literally had nothing to do with Woodsboro. Her only crime is being associated with this group and being around them.
Yep.
And frankly, the same can be said for sister. I'm not learning her name, but
Quinn.
sister's hookup. Thank you. Sure, that's fair. Quinn's hookup, just an innocent bystander. And I think that, they talk in the rules scene about how there is an escalation as these requels continue of the violence. And I think that those things and the innocent bystanders, like the bodega victims, really speak to that as well. And again, it's artistic and it speaks to the art in a similar way to Judy and Wes's deaths do. But it doesn't mean that I feel like they were handled well. It doesn't mean that, there have now been 3 queer characters in this whole film franchise, if you don't count that security guard in Scream 2.
Yeah.
And if you do count, even if you do count the security guard in Scream 2, then half of them are victims. Great. It sucks.
I entirely take your point. It's a bummer because I love the ladder kill. It's a really tense moment. It's a really interesting situation to put everybody in. It's something that you kind of only do in New York. You can't do it in Woodsboro. It's scary. It's people have things where like you have to go out of your fire escape and they don't feel super safe or connected. Like I've had that moment in New York. So like it's a good idea, but you're right. It sucks for the character. It is they've also like already stabbed her, so like it's just there's so much in this movie of like just the deaths are really like you're already really maimed and then you have the torturous death that I get the kind of leveling up of the experience, but sometimes it is a bit much. But yeah, I like the care of Annika. I would have liked to have swapped her and Quinn. I think that could have made things really interesting. It's so unfortunate that all Quinn has going for her is that she's a slut. That's never enough for anything for a character, unless you're just kind of going to say it once and never talk about it again. It's just like, oh yeah, we have a roommate who fucks a lot. So like, that's the noise, end of joke, done with that character, not going to talk about it anymore. If you keep bringing them back and going, no, but you're really, really a slut. You're a slut who's dead now. Oh wait, you're alive. You're still a slut, but you're a murderer. What are we doing with that? And because we've had 2 really good fake outs with Dermot Mulrooney and creepy Ethan, I think it's Ethan, it just kind of feels like, well, her only thing was that she was a dead slut. Fake out is that she's an alive slut. Okay, nailed it.
And even if you wrapped up the justification of, yeah, and I got a body from cold storage, blah, 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 fine. I'm not even...
Yeah, not worried about that, which is stupid and insane.
It holds water, it just isn't enjoyable.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the idea that this is all a museum to Ghostface, and it requires a few too many, oh, well, that's convenient kind of layers Dan Savage was really great at when he would get a letter and he would be like, I appreciate your letter, but I'm going to refer to this as a how'd that happen? And he would literally list the 17 things you said in a letter that led to your own demise and would be like, I didn't want to give you any advice. So I emailed a professional, and here's what a professional psychological counselor said about somebody who is as how'd that happen as you. I hate this family. Fucking God, I hate the Kirsches. I love the Carpenters, and it's weird because I think I should hate the Carpenters. First of all, again, one more time, Tara is the most toxic person since a flight attendant in a Britney Spears video. Sam's awesome. Like I want her to protect me in an alley. Like I think she knows how to throw down. Mama's awesome, but Sam's pretty flawed. When I look at this family, I see two people worth fighting for. I see two people who have a better tomorrow coming to them if somebody just stands up for them. They'll probably stand up for themselves and they don't need it, but it's there. I hope all of the Kirsches die. End of thought. That's it.
I mean, I hope they did die. I like 1 and 2. I like going from, son/brother to family getting revenge. That's fine. I would not want the mom to show up in 7. Unless, again, the only way, like, I really
Stu and
I
Nancy
immediately
Loomis's other kid.
Immediately, I love my pitch that, like, we figure out who the killer is midway through Scream 7, and then it's about Sam actually fighting back till the end of the movie. I would take something like that. I would allow for another Kirsch. Otherwise, I think dump them. I don't legacy stuff. We just got to be careful. It's kind of like the thing you were talking about before, Kevo, where the betrayal, every movie, it's always a legacy. I get that, but now you have to really give me a new idea of legacy. And that's why I like the idea that maybe they were a found family, an adopted family, instead of, like, it always comes back to blood. It always comes back to, Billy's kid and Sydney's cousin and, Billy's mom.
So can I just add on that for a moment? One of the things that made Nancy Loomis so great was the way she performed it. We really attached to Laurie Metcalf's iteration of Nancy Loomis, right? I was reading a number of articles about Dermot Mulrooney. Guys, I've
nailed it. You got it. Just keep going.
Trouble saying it for like 30 years.
You got it.
His performance, he was so aware that he wanted to play this character right, that he thought about the things he does as an actor to make himself cry in a scene and purposely does them exaggerated on camera. So when he finds out his daughter is dead, you can watch him purposely rub his eye with his sleeve so he's red and crying but it's in the shot. Like, it is such a nuanced performance that when he went, like, nuts and was like, I'm evil and I shot Kirby, I was like, oh, all right. First of all, again, I just want to say Kirby should have gone up to each one of these people, inhaled them, and then gained stabbing powers. But since that didn't happen, Grat, that's hysterical. She's sitting next to Meta Knight. Because she's the meta character. Anyway, I think the big thing about Screams 5 versus 6, I loved the tension of 6 kind of up until this final act. Genuinely, I did not love all the stuff in the theater, unfortunately. For me, 5 was the opposite on first watch. On first watch, I didn't really enjoy the first hour of 5, but man, that last hour packed a punch. I rewatched all 6, having watched all 6. 5 and 6 are great. They hold up the way you want them to. They hold up for me the way I hope 1, 4, and 2 do. 3 is on the pile. If there's one of these two that I call weaker, it's 6. 5 is more fraught with tension, but there was really nothing I would change about these movies other than some directorial choices. No, I think he's the most beautiful man, but Chad should be dead. I think she's the coolest girl, but Mindy should be dead. These people, they were stabbed.
Too many
Would you
times.
have killed Chad in 4? Or sorry, would you have killed Chad in 5?
Oh my god, I was like, what, I would have killed him as a child?
Little baby? No, when he gets stabbed like a billion times in 5. Is that...
I would have probably done something maybe a little bit different. Like I would have cut his rotator cuff and just left him like looking like he was bleeding out from his heart, but it's his shoulder. I would have changed the direction on the wounding because he is at the gym this morning. As I was walking around and they started playing System of a Down's Chop Suey, I thought to myself, the term as a kid that we used to be like, we didn't know what chop suey meant. We would say like, oh, that looks like it's cut up to chop suey. That is something that like a Looney Tunes character might have said in 1991. That is what happens to Chad. He gets SpongeBob levels of chopped up.
Yes.
In 6?
No, in 5.
So I'm saying, would you have killed him in 5?
No, I would have changed the direction.
Okay, so you wouldn't have had this happen at all to him.
I would have had him get stabbed. I would have had him be injured, but
just a light one.
The more convincing that he could have survived, not less severe, but more convincing.
Sure.
After our commentary about what's his name, ex-Mr. Courtney Cox and his performance,
David
in
Arquette.
Scream 2.
Yeah.
Yes, David Arquette's
brother.
Unbelievably over-exaggerated performance in Scream 2. I feel like that's the level of movement Chad should have been illustrating in this film after the way he was attacked in 5. Like, that was realistic for Chad, and he was kind of walking around like he was fine.
Yeah. He should have been moving like an ECV with a dying battery. It should have been.
I appreciate the joke at the end when Mindy comes running up of, I'm on so many drugs I can't feel anything below my below my neck.
You and me, girl.
But she still ran up, so it does start to get a little bit ludicrous.
Yep.
So I don't really know. For me, I really feel like the one that I think we are probably zeroing toward is the original opening should have been killed. I feel like there is a final destination pall of death that is just looming after Tara, where she is just waiting to be a victim and perhaps catalyze the story that TK is looking for and propel Sam toward being more active and aggressive in hunting down a killer. But I really feel like everything about her behavior and how downright at times unlikable she is in 6 really makes it seem like she is destined to be a future victim. This bizarre romance out of nowhere, not being fulfilling, not being something I want to see more of, leads me to feel like she's destined to just die and be more story catalyst eventually.
Well, since Jennifer
I was going to say, this is just beautiful people syndrome. This is just like they're both too pretty not to see them be romanticized by the average audience.
We're hot
member.
and unrelated. Yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Since Jenna Ortega's not coming back, I could also see, assuming Melissa Barrera were to come back, that it would be the killer is threatening to go after Tara. And so Sam says, I got to nut up and kill the killer before the killer can go after Tara. And that's why we don't see her and whatever. Anyway, I think these two are pretty neck and neck for me. I think they really function similarly to 1 and 2. I really like them both. I think they got so much right. And the stuff they got wrong I don't hate it. I thought better solutions were kind of staring them in the face the whole time. I don't really know how you look at Annika and prioritize Quinn. Stuff like that. I even just like when you're on set, maybe rewrites could have, I don't know, who the hell knows. Rewrites probably aren't a good idea. Anyway, I really enjoy them. I think they're great. I love the Carpenter sisters as taking up the mantle
And have we got news for you? So every time we say Carpenter Sisters,
bring me a man. I need a man. Hey Santa.
Oh my God, Jonah did not know that was a cover, and when I played it for him, it shattered his world.
Yeah, I was there when he didn't know it was a cover. I didn't know you played him the. Actually, maybe I did. Anyway, yeah, I love these. I think they're great. I think we're really at a place where this could go anywhere. And I see so many good options. I see so many good possibilities. But man, do I see some bad ones too. And with things like this Melissa Barrera thing, I just get worried that like we might just be out of options. But I will say, all the Scream producers that I know are listening to this, put your faith in Hayden Panettiere. She's ready. She's got it. She's got the chops. She's ready to go. Let her lead if you can't get Melissa Barrera back.
I just want to say that I wrote a lot of checks with 4 where I was like, listen, Kirby, she could save this franchise. And then there was a whole lot of time. I had a whole lot of time to hold that up and just look like Rachel Reynolds looking real confident holding a giant check. You know what I mean? And then at the last second, out of nowhere, they pull out Kirby in 6. I don't think Hayden Panettiere is Meryl Streep, but I think
she's a great Scream Queen. She's a great final girl. Hell yes.
Yeah, she really. This was a revelation.
When we got through of the first several hundred episodes of Power Rangers, and Nico fell in love with the Power Rangers in Space character of Astronema,
I would sob
so hard.
Literally cry.
I'm more of a spoiler queen than Nico is. And so when I know things, I measure Nico's reactions to things and whether or not I should let him know things. And
I'm literally shouting, she needs to be a ranger! She needs to be a ranger!
And so I literally let him know that Corone would get her redemption and would get to be a Power Ranger just to help keep him engaged and excited. I knew, based on his love for Kirby, I had him fully prepared for her return. And as the movie was playing out, I was literally like, so you know she's not the killer. Because I know how much you love her. And you know what? I get narratively. It's important. They even the killer makes that reference in this movie to Gale about how the reveal of it having snapped and been Gale always would have been good. Because, yeah, that's always something that floated around. The idea of it being a survivor who snaps is something that is always enticing. Yeah. But I know how attached you were to Kirby as a character at that level, where I was like, no, you need to know that that's going to be floated and it is bullshit. And I do think everything that they give her in this movie,
it wasn't Julia in season 4.
Yes, it was telling you that it wasn't Julia in season 4. And I think that everything that they set up with her character, I think Mindy also, as far as the characters that are created by this universe, to me, Mindy is the one that most stands out as someone who should be a legacy character and continue with the franchise. As far as the top victims of the core 4, I think either one of these are ripe for the picking.
Yeah.
But Mindy should be a survivor, and Mindy and Kirby are characters that could inherit this franchise completely.
I think a Meeks-focused film would be a really fun way to do it, and I think it would be Mindy. I think that would be a great way to do it.
And bring in Martha!
Yeah. I will also say one of the bigger disappointments in this entire franchise and this entire setup is that Scream the TV series has absolutely no relation, no connection to any of this. And that's fine, but I would love for Emma Duvall, or if we can't have Emma Duvall, just Willa Fitzgerald acting as one of the Scream girls, as a final girl from a Scream movie. I think she could lead a goddamn Scream movie, because man, do I think she led these first 2 seasons so well.
Like how Ellen Muth is the same character on Hannibal that she is in Dead Like Me. She's not,
exactly.
but she's not.
Exactly.
Like, Emily Duvet, the new Scream film character, would be amazing.
Yeah,
I'm going to use that as an opportunity to transition to
that
show.
was the idea.
It was brilliant. I'm going to use that as an opportunity to transition to a show, my idea first, where the first season was okay. The first time I ever made out with a guy where I was like in love with him, I remember there being fireworks, it being so intense, even if the fireworks were too loud and too bright, everything that was happening shook my insides. The next time I made out with a guy that I was super into, I could tell that it was a little bit less special because it just kind of shook my toes a little bit. That is Scream Season 1 versus Scream Season 2. It is the same vibe, but you know it's not the same feeling. Scream Season 1 was a bloodbath of epic proportions, and Scream Season 2 killed maybe 4 people that mattered.
Over like 18 episodes. It was so much longer, too.
I don't recommend stopping at Season 1, but I guess on some level, the same
Temper
way
your expectations.
I tell people they should stop Desperate Housewives at the jump. Don't come back. I literally, when people are like, oh, should I watch that? I'm like, stop at Season 4. Just don't actually watch the coda. Leave it where they save Catherine. That is the perfect ending. Don't come back. Because it's as many episodes, but it's kind of frustrating. The second half of Scream the Show is more episodes and less fulfilling. But on the whole, I still give the whole experience an A- based on the strength of some really incredible young actors performing some rough writing to some unbelievable horror levels.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that this show pulled off what it did.
Yes.
So it's cable. That's one of the big things, big differences between this and Riverdale. Riverdale was a broadcast show. Scream was a cable show. Means they've got a little more leeway on the violence, on the sex.
Killing that lady that leaked all of those nudes from all of those nice Teen Wolf boys' penises.
Exactly.
Yeah, she did.
Bella Thorne, that's her name.
I will say, yeah, and a fantastic first victim.
That was I kept thinking she had to be a regular, because the quality of her performance
was really not disposable.
Really, I was impressed. I didn't know she was a very good actress, and she clearly is.
And I will say, like, if you fused this in the cast of Riverdale, you would have a perfect cast. Like, God love her. I really do love Brooke Maddox. She is not Cheryl Blossom.
Okay.
I think there are some characters on Riverdale and some actors on Riverdale that are so good and just they're campy and cunty and iconic and stupid and they're fun to watch even when nothing the show is doing is any good. And similarly, there are characters like Emma who just lead the show so well and so feel like they are part of the series they're supposed to be.
Wouldn't she be
Noah,
a girl? Like, seriously, David E. Kelly would write an entire show.
Yeah.
Noah is another really fantastic one. Audrey, I really do think is great. I think if you had to ask me to choose between Audrey or Jughead, I would choose Audrey.
I would personally have Audrey executed by a horrifying, angry military. That said, she is probably the second best actress on the show because she made me feel all of that, and her character had some.
The character is frustrating, but it's great actor and good frustrating.
That roller coaster scene! Oh my god!
I'm never frustrated by Jughead. I just want to know why he's being this way and why he can't just be normal for 2 seconds. Audrey, I am just like, you are such a mess, girl. There's so much going on there. But like Brooke, I mean, I really like this actress. She is in the same vein as, your Sophia Bushes.
I really appreciate her, but she is... it's almost like the directors told her, here's Holland Roden. Would you just do me a favor and would you channel Holland Roden?
Yeah. I think appreciate her is exactly the right word. I really do appreciate her. Again, really, this has to have been the last year when they would have ever allowed you to air a minor student adult teacher sexual relationship, especially minor girl student boy teacher sexual relationship. Hated that. So frustrating that it was so much of the show. So much of the show relies on.
It was frustrating for me because he was doing a bad you impression. Like, as somebody who knows guys like you and knows what, like, hey, I was a loser and there was this cool guy that I went to school with named Tim. I'm going to emulate him in my classroom. Like, I know cool guys like you, and I know the guys that teacher was trying to emulate. And so, like, seeing him be used as a pervert was uniquely frustrating for me.
Yeah.
Because as a teacher, as somebody who has been in the same position that you've been in, I know the efforts it takes to connect with your students. I wish he had been any other position than teacher or psychologist.
Yeah.
I wish he had been and I hate to say it this way, but as somebody who also has a personal training license, I wish he had been like her coach or something.
Sure.
I really feel the continued perversion of these sorts of representations of protection, where this guy kind of gets away with it until he's murdered. That's the problem. He's not put to man's
for
justice.
the reasons that he should be.
Exactly.
And frankly, as well, I think a huge part of the problem for me, when they finally did do the teacher sleeps with a student story on One Tree Hill, they engineered it in such a way where it's the haha, didn't know you were my student, didn't know you were my teacher. It's over pretty quickly. It kind of felt like they were just doing it because it's a soap opera, and by season 4, they were just, okay, what else soap opera haven't we done? And on a show like One Tree Hill, you'd already had so many good teachers.
Yep.
This isn't a show where we were then given good teachers or, frankly, any good adults, period.
Yep.
For there to be the other side of that. And so this is the only representation we have of teachers. And so that sucks for a high school show where there are a lot of teachers. That sucks.
And it doesn't feel like the destabilizing energy of they can't trust anyone, literally not even adults.
Yes.
It really does feel like
the narrative.
Brooke and the teacher, those actors are essentially age appropriate to have sex with each other, and they look like it.
And it's on TV, so it's got to be sexy.
And it's got to be sexy. Therefore,
this is the home of spider games.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely, 100%.
Also, while we're talking about unbelievably sexy people, the actor who plays Jake is,
oh my god,
number one. He actually, and I don't mean this negatively, he looks 34. Like, if you told me this guy could play a very virile father with a beard, I'd believe it. That is part of something that is cyclically responsible. The Scream is cyclically responsible for. Kevin Williamson, as Kevo really recently pointed out, was responsible in part for a cultural shift in the presentation of teenagers. And so between Scream and Dawson's Creek, we saw this idea of a bearded teenager. I remember having I had a full beard in freshman year because this is the least amount of facial hair I have ever had not working in a Disney park. And it's just light stubble because I have naturally red and blonde facial hair when it's it's what it is. But these men have more significantly older features than me in some regards, except for Noah, who looks like a 40-year-old who shaves daily. But I don't think I look a whole lot older by quick glance. I mean, obviously, I'm much older than these men. I'm like 15 years older, 20 years older, and I look.
You're actually not. You're 4 years old. You're 3 years older than Jake. You're barely 4 years older than Jake, and you're 3 years older than Noah. Sorry, Gustavo. I'm looking up Noah right now.
That really makes me feel a lot better. But I genuinely think when I kind of look at these men, they look like men. What I am resentful of is that the girls look like girls which is sort of an MTV cheap ploy at playing into the physicality of the characters. There's two men not on here, Will and the sheriff. The sheriff does not look that much older than his son, who is the second man in the second photo listed here.
Same with the teacher. Yeah.
Yeah. Will, however, had the most boyish energy because Noah is meant to be an old soul. So one of the big selling points of a character like Noah is he is the Randy. His wisdom supersedes the quality of his youth. Will was just every dumb jock you ever knew who made a bunch of bad decisions one after another over and over again, such that it should have determined that he was not a great guy. But Will kind of kept getting bought back by the fact that we were being presented only his best moments over and over. I don't know. For my sake, the men on this show all do play out pretty sinister other than Noah. But at the end of the day, it was Emma's show. It was Emma. She was such an incredible female lead. I was taken.
So I will say this, everybody, including the girls, is mid-20s or older when this happens. Noah is one of the younger ones, but I think he's not significantly younger than everybody else.
I genuinely never, I believe you because you would never lie to me, but it's hard for me to believe looking at Willa Fitzgerald and the young woman who plays Audrey in that image that they are not actually teenage girls. Essentially, they
Brooke
are
too.
The energy they give is so honest, it's disarming.
Yeah, I mean, Audrey and Noah are two of the younger ones, but they are over 21.
Wow.
When this starts filming.
Wow. Really?
But and I think Emma is about the same age. And the guys are, 25. Brooke is 25. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. This also to me is very MTV in regards to this kind of is when they now MTV has started to try to go back to casting adults. Like they still want people who are over the age of 20 playing teenagers. But instead of it being James Vanderbeek, who looked 40 at 25, instead of it being actors like that, like we've talked about how Austin St. John, he might have been 18 when he played Jason, but he looked like he was 40. These are adults playing teenagers, so you don't have to feel weird, but they're small. They're very small adults.
Yeah, no, there really is an Austin Young sort of sizing factor to the people here.
But like to my earlier point, and I just looked this one up too, the teacher is 7 years older than the actor who plays Brooke. So like it's not absurd.
Literally, there is less of a gap between me and there's more of a gap is what I meant between me and my older partner.
Yeah. And so when they're both adults, when she is 23 and he's 30, that's really not that huge a thing. And then it just becomes, so you can get why the producers are like, oh, well, this isn't weird. They're both adults. But then what is the show we're producing where one of them is literally a child? And again, it's not about, their prey to the world. And I kind of thought, because it is revealed so early, I kind of thought we were going to be getting a lot of maybe the coffee shop is exploitative of Emma's labor. Like they are victims. Everybody is trying to make them a victim.
Meat Palace.
Exactly. Everybody's trying to make them a victim. And then also there is a killer. No, this is just like standard teen drama tropes where inevitably somebody has to fuck Mrs. Grundy. And, now we're doing it for Scream. So that was a little disappointing given that this show took a lot of the other Scream tropes, which are like group of friends, high school, there's a background, and really did its own stuff with them rather than it being last year my slut motherfuck too many people and everything went to shit. This is a 20-year legacy that we are buying into starting in episode 1. And I thought even the idea of a mask that is similar but different.
Yeah.
And that has different meaning. This is not a mask, a cheap Halloween mask that you can get 20 of so you can perpetrate a bunch of these. This is a mask with history and meaning to these people that they need to see as part of understanding the legacy that is being carried out. I thought it was a really interesting idea. The idea of turning what Scream is into an anthology concept. Not my least favorite thing
Brendan
ever.
James.
Go ahead.
I was saying Brandon James.
Yeah, Brandon James.
You had a thing, yeah.
Okay, I am overly attached to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and that's a Nico thing. I understand, but the show did not have an opportunity to use Red Right Hand before it ended, and so that is one trope that it kind of let me down on.
Agreed.
I want to, and it wasn't its fault because Kevo, you had the amazing perspective of I bet it would have used it in the series finale. Or it could have used it in the premiere of the final season. That would have been awesome.
Yeah,
too.
They would have found a place.
The thing that this show did is this show did so many things before the movies came back. The entirety of Scream the series exists between Screams 4 and 5, which means they did a take on Roman in a form of it is Emma's mother's previous child that no one knew anything about, who was the first killer. And then ultimately it is the sheriff's son, who is the lead's boyfriend, in a sort of weird mashup of Stu and Billy that I don't really love. It's not my favorite reveal. But I felt that between this and Resurrection, in many ways, they kind of choreographed a lot of the surprises of 5 and 6. Now, I know it's a little complicated to fully project the whole way that I think it maps because it's not one for one. But I think one of the things that happened is the creators of 5 and 6 said, what has happened in Scream the series in the interim that maybe the casual streamer might have seen? I have no hard numbers on how many people have seen this show, but, we have to assume that there is some rewatchability quality to the MTV lineup. And it really feels like the reveal of the podcast murderer. Maybe we can see traces of that in the world of Only Murders in the Building. The reveal of the boyfriend murderer at the end of season 2, who's been there all along. I think in many ways we see maybe traces of that in Robbie in 5, right? I do know that is a Billy thing from earlier. I'm sorry. God damn
You're
it.
fine.
Richie.
There's a Robbie in 4. That's why you keep getting confused. He's the kid.
Thank you.
He's the kid who says he's gay and then he's not, which is annoying.
Right. So then with 6, I fucking hate everything about the killers in 6. Not for me. But one of the things that I think that I'm so sorry, I said 6. I'm so sorry. I meant Resurrection. One of the things that I think about the killers in Resurrection is the whole idea that family and like family that's dead but not dead. I feel like that really was a thing where they said what wasn't done in Resurrection that we could mine for 6. It gets to be so layered talking about these films because it's 6 movies in a trilogy that becomes a quadrilogy. Then there's 2 movies plus 3 shows, but it's really 2 shows across 3 seasons plus an annual between seasons. I can't fucking.
Well, I also think that there is a lot of Richie in Beth in season 3 as well. In terms of just being kind of psychotic, and Amber too. Then in that regard, just being kind of psychotic and just being
She's very Amber, yeah.
And the reveal kind of being, I was one of you all along, and I'm just a fucking psychopath. And oops, sorry about it.
And I'm the goth girl. It's like really, really Amber.
So I really definitely can see where there have to be, I would be very surprised if I learned the people who made 5, 6 had not seen any of MTV's VH1's Scream, Resurrection,
I would
Bowling,
Drag race.
I'd only not be surprised
Return
because
to Murderville. Continue.
I'd only not be surprised because we just found out, not just found out, but Sam Raimi did not watch WandaVision. So, you know,
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, directors just do whatever they want.
But I think that shows in Multiverse of Madness, and that's
Exactly.
I'm saying I feel like I see it in this.
I feel
And
you.
so-
I do really wonder. I mean, like it's as I was saying earlier. I think in a lot of ways, Beth is the better goth girl. You know, it plays out better that she's just like, yeah, I'm just kind of like fucked up, and some guy came into my tattoo parlor, so I fucked with him, and now you're all stuck here with me.
Okay,
I
no, you just said some guy, but
Yeah, Tyga.
It's Tyga.
It's Tyga. Yeah, it's Tyga. Acting his heart out, which is still a C- acting performance, but you know we're gonna live through it.
Everything about this cast, almost every single member of this main cast, and even some of the guests, are people for Resurrection. It had everything going for it.
It really did. And I want to, before we go into the Resurrection cast, I just want to give them credit for one of the most amazing casting choices of all time, which is Tracy Middendorf as the mother of Emma Duval.
Oh my God. I literally checked 3 times to make sure that this actress was not related to Willa Fitzgerald.
Well, it's not even that. It is that it's kind of, to me, it's her and what's her name who plays Laura Palmer. She was Carrie Brady in a lot of Days of Our Lives. She was... No, it's not Sherilyn Fenn. I'm gonna forget her name, but I had the same reaction seeing Tracy Middendorf as I had when it turns out that Peyton's mom on One Tree Hill is Laura Palmer. And you know, so she was Carrie Brady.
Cheryl Lee,
thank you. And I never want to say it because it's not Sherilyn Fenn. She was Carrie Brady on Days of Our Lives. She was the friend that almost kills herself when they're in college during 90210.
She was the original Mary Alice Young in the pilot of Desperate Housewives.
That's correct.
ABC said nobody would accept her playing a second dead main character on ABC.
She has been on so many shows that you've seen. She was on Alias. She was on Angel. She was on 6 Feet Under. She has a really big career, but mostly she has been that soap opera girl in the exact same way that they were asking her daughter to be. And she acts like that in a way that like is not like, oh, this deserves an Oscar. It's we're watching Scream the TV series on MTV
where you disembowel the sheriff.
You better ham it up a little bit. He's also another good one. He stars in one of my favorite movies of all time, which I just brought up on the show, Kicking and Screaming by Noah Baumbach.
Okay, but I got to be honest. When you look at him, he
is old. I know exactly what you're saying. He was playing a college student in 1991.
Well, okay, I don't know that you were going to know exactly what I was going to say because he looks like he could star in Noah Top's Mike on Randy Blue.
It is very Family Dick, but
he has a very specific he has a very specific, very lean kind of quality to him that is reserved often for models and honestly porn stars. He has a very unapproachable look almost. So casting him as the sheriff felt very, you're leaning into law enforcement is not an element that is going to be used accessibly on this show, and it was not.
Yep, it's true.
It's that weird MTV casting thing again, where we were talking about how it felt like the teacher probably read for one of the students and was given the teacher anyway. The sheriff is so hot and young, and everyone's age is so nebulous. I genuinely thought, what's his name? The boyfriend here.
Will?
With the facial hair.
Keenan.
Jake.
No. Kieran.
Kieran, yeah.
Yes, Kieran.
Yeah.
There were times where I thought he was going to be revealed to be Brendan James
Yeah.
because he looks so much like an adult. I would have believed that that was a thing
Yeah.
uh, because it's so ridiculous that the kids look like adults and the adults look like kids.
Tasty Cake, I need you to understand. I have seen literally every single episode of Melrose Place 4 or 5 times, and that's not an exaggeration. And so, there aren't a lot of blonde people added in the last season. But I would love to know more about
Yeah.
this because Melrose Place is like a small religion to me. Um,
If
a
you
little
can get
bit.
us an actor or character name, we'll be able to connect better, probably.
Yeah, and there's tons of blonde guys added throughout the later seasons, so please don't think that I disbelieve you. I am very much excited to talk to you about how much I love Melrose Place. Okay, things that I really loved. The way that these 2 seasons came together to paint a picture of characters in a deeper way than the Scream film franchise often has the opportunity to do. As much as I love who Sid is limited by the fact that there's 10 total hours of footage of Sid. There is more than 10 total hours of footage of Emma in the first season of Scream alone. So
Yeah.
it is very difficult to really weigh them in the same way. I feel like I have a better intimate knowledge of the characters in the Scream TV show. It is so unfortunate that the core identity of the Scream TV show is in the first 2 seasons and sort of truncates in a fun Halloween special. It felt very much like a comic book annual or perhaps like a Doctor Who Christmas special. It had a lot of, oh, this is the definitive moment in this canon, but it's not really its own thing, but it is its own thing. Ultimately, wish this hadn't been the final moment in these characters. But
Yeah.
Gwarsh, goofy laugh. Did I love it?
Yep, I feel exactly the same way. I thought what this show really did was select the most important, not all of, but the most important tropes of the Scream movies that had come before. The character tropes, the archetypes, what happens in a Scream movie, and gave it all a new setting. And a totally good one, like a totally acceptable
I still
one.
know what you did last summer for Scream.
Yeah, exactly. That Noah is just the Randy, that Emma is the Sid, like that Brooke is the Tatum. Everybody falls into a type, and then, like I said, it's the legacy. Something happened before that is now coming back to haunt them. I really liked that concept. It was a bit of a bummer for me that there's just no way to bridge this to the films. I don't think there's no way, but it's not happening. And it's especially a bummer because I think some of the actors, like the actor who plays Noah, like Willa Fitzgerald, who plays Emma and has now been in so many things that I love.
She's going to win a Tony or an Emmy or an Oscar. Like, this actress is one of those, you're going to have a hard time avoiding her for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Types.
Yeah, she is really good. And so it's just a bummer not to be able to connect them or to have not done so far. But again, Scream producers that are definitely watching and listening, if 7 is not working out the way you think, give Willa Fitzgerald a call, man. She's so good. Yeah.
Kevo, we watched this whole 2-season extravaganza in like 4 days, and like we got like we initially were a little resistant, but by the end, it bought us a library, and it told us that it would kill Gaston for us. How did you feel about Scream by the end?
By the end of the initial Scream the series, we really enjoyed it. I really loved the Halloween special for what it was, but I agree, in terms of being a place that we leave the characters off, it really deserved at least one more final season, even if it was truncated. Because it was a really interesting, special, unique project, and Resurrection just was not any of those things. Everything about Resurrection, it feels like they fumbled every opportunity they had, and that was tough to watch, really.
I really just wanted to say, and Kevo, what a perfect word, opportunity. This is the most talented cast you could have assembled, the most unbelievable production quality, an unbelievable quality of mystery, and every single step of the way, the dialogue is amateurish. The framing of sequence is clunky. These actors are giving A plus material, and it just feels like it's in a B- show. And I guess I'm just always gonna have a B plus kind of life. I just feel like Resurrection really suffered from a lack of cohesive vision that fit the story they were trying to tell.
Right off the bat, loved the idea that they chose to focus on characters of color, focus on a neighborhood of color,
and hired executive producers to reflect that, even if the showrunner themselves was not a person of color. Seeing Queen Latifah, Dana Owens, that's, mama, and she's good to you. So,
but I do think right off the bat, the showrunner is a huge problem. I agree. Executive producers are incredibly important. I just think in the year of our Lord 2019, we knew better than to do that. And also, not just that it is a white male showrunner, it is specifically a protege of Joss Whedon, which I just think spelling disaster right out the gate. Now, I even love the idea that if this continues, we've got an anthology series on our hands, because we've now completely reset and we're doing an entirely different scenario than the last scenario, but it's still a Scream. We've still got the mask, we still got the killer, but then things start to fall off the rails a little bit, because we don't a lot of it, but like we don't have the same character types or even versions of them. Like nothing is recognizable.
And it's a different sense of meta. And I just want to comment, when Peter Parker sort of acknowledges that he's in a comic book, there's something about reading JMS, John Michael Straczynski, master of sci-fi's Spider-Man, being aware he's in a comic book that is very different from Tom Holland's Spider-Man saying, you remember that movie Aliens? There's a very different meta quality to those two identities. That is the level of different meta between Scream, the film franchise, and Resurrection. And then fucking some.
Something that I find to be an interesting juxtaposition, though, we were very upset with the horrific and needless murder of the character of Manny, because, queer characters in this franchise as a whole get such a bad rap.
I would have fallen in love with him in high school and never, ever recovered.
Oh my God.
As my partners, you guys would be suffering for my love for that man.
I would have had to do so much taking care of that, and I would have been happy to do it. I would have welcomed it into our family. And I feel like the bizarre but almost lovely reveal of secret lover Jock Hawkins kind of bought back a lot of that goodwill. And frankly, so did ultimately the killer, and their motive being, I just straight up fucking love killing and I'm a psycho and I am doing this for the drama. As opposed to Scream 6, where it is such an insanely more horrific torture of a queer character in a film franchise, and ultimately the motivation has nothing to do with the murder of that character. Manny's death is justified by Beth being like, but this is my narrative, and I'm just crazy, and I'm just killing people because I love killing, and this is part of the crazy psychotic narrative I'm building. But the torture of a character like Annika is nothing to do with the characterization of those family members. They don't revel in torture the same way. It's just bizarre.
Wait, but who's Beth's co-killer?
Tyga.
Fuck God, because she just so disposably gets rid of him. I forget him.
Well, and it's
Tyga's killings matter.
Right, Tyga is doing legacy. And I did think I was going to pick up on that point with you, Kevo. I did think that was a really brilliant
Oh my God, avenging the brother. That was the other point that I was going to make about Kirsch family. But Tyga is disposed of by this tiny white. Oh my God! How
She
the
doesn't care.
legacy
Who gives a
of
fuck about movies?
Well, and also
legacy of the
she's, you
talented
know,
black man being erased by the tiny white woman.
she does the
Oh yeah.
she does the this is a fucking gun when you know, somebody tries to find. There are some really valid things about the show. While obviously I think we can see a lot of ways in which the white girl killing the black man is not really the best thing ever, I think the idea of the established legacy and history being part of why this is all happening, and then just saying, nope, this person,
I don't care.
the other element is paving or is changing things up again, because Scream movies never do it the same, or Scream stories never do it the same every time. In this case, we have someone who has no ties who says, I saw the connection, I used it for my own means, and now I'm on to my own fun.
It's like if Stu kills Billy first.
Exactly. If he says, I don't give a shit about Maureen Prescott or your mom or your dad, I just love the chaos. And I thought, I really was impressed with how the actor who played Beth pulled the whole thing off, given that we're going to get Amber coming up, who is just the very similar character type, but jumping around like a spider monkey once she's revealed. And it just have some dignity, girl.
The way I really love the performance we get from Beth as the ultimate expression of the unhinged killer that I maybe didn't get that I loved from Amber April. I don't even care anymore.
Amber Pearl.
Amber April, I'm obsessed.
Amber Pearl. Love Amber
Kiki
Pearl.
fucking
I mean, Keke Palmer is on her own show.
It is like, it's hard to actually think about. Like, I've seen multiple performances from this woman. I really have. I have seen multiple films she's in. I've never seen her do a character on a TV show where I would get multiple, it was hard to talk about. I think this is one of those things that was like, this didn't get nominated for Emmys or anything just because it was Scream the TV show. This is like, Keke Palmer really is an actress who understands how to bring a character to life, and it made me very aware of the limitations of the script. Now, I don't mean that necessarily in the same derogatory way that I came for the showrunner earlier, and I do think a good portion of that is the new comic book writer contrast. Do I think that actually Chuck Austin's run on X-Men that followed, New X-Men is the worst run ever? No, it's bad. But is it the worst run ever? Probably not. And that is really the truth here too. Do I think that Resurrection is the worst season ever? No, it just happens to come after 1 and 2, which I love so much. And so I had a little bit of trouble adjusting to this other universe so quickly. Keke Palmer's performance really reveals the limitations that this 6-episode series was forced to reckon with because of the humanity she was able to inject into a script that otherwise kind of played a paint-by-the-numbers murder series, to the point where I did think it was the weakest cop-out of the whole 6-episode show to simply write her out of everything of the climax. They just understood that the character they had created there was so layered and nuanced and capable that if she was injected into the climax of this essentially white nonsense, she would break it. And that was the toughest part of Resurrection, that there was nothing truly payoffy about the 6th episode of a 6-episode series where there was only really 2 sympathetic characters, and you literally immolated one in the middle of a cornfield.
You killed a gay person in the middle of a field. Like, what are you doing?
You have to have some scarecrowsy, fancy. Melissa Etheridge is literally going to come beat you up.
And unfortunately, it just, the main character is not sympathetic.
No.
His his mystery is insane. His background mystery is insane and weird. Like, hugely, you need to be in therapy for the rest of your life. You don't need to be trying to get a football scholarship.
We are talking. You are responsible for the Insomniacs leaks, locked up for the rest of your life. Is that sounds of?
Yes. No, you're fine. The fact that randomly Candyman is in it, which is fun, but just isn't
Random.
Kevo can attest that the pitch I hit was semi-inhuman for
Yeah.
a minute.
Like,
I was
it's
so scared.
because again, it's one of those things that's like, no, this is a black scream. This is but then it's like, this is a black scream except for when we don't want it to be, don't have the faculties to write it properly, all of the things that would come.
White officer down! White officer down!
Again, like, Keke Palmer
So fresh.
should have been the star. She should have been the Sydney, the Emma Duvall, the Sam Carpenter. She is that girl. She is that character. She is that actor. We would follow her into hell. We would believe that after getting stabbed in the vital organs, she survives with plenty of time to kill the killer, get to the hospital, get sewn up, and go to college the next year. I simply don't know, care, or believe that the dude is that guy. And
he was the Blue Ranger, but Kevo, you got things.
I had the weirdest experience watching these shows because I accidentally spoiled myself on both versions of this series very early on. I accidentally spoiled for myself very early in season 1 that Kieran was going to be revealed.
Which,
and so
you were an absolute prince to watch this with.
Well,
you never let it slip even 1%.
I saw that, and the other thing that I saw very quickly and moved away, and I allowed myself to kind of have it be on my peripheral, but not necessarily be sure of what I saw. And with the Kieran reveal, I feel about that, I think, ultimately the way I feel about, like, the Boyd reveal on Dollhouse, which is something that always affected my enjoyment of Dollhouse. But it's there. It could be there. It's not that it's impossible. It's an element of the universe that makes sense. It's like we were saying, it's like the Billy Loomis reveal. It fits the world. And he was always, I was always watching the way he would pop up right after a Brandon James mask attack. And, so it was there. Did I love it? No. The other thing that I knew was the twin reveal. And that was another one that as I'm watching the whole season, I'm like, did I misread it? Did I make this up?
You were so nervous. You were like, I think I know something. It maybe can't
Because the entire season they're talking about my secret, my secret, my secret, my secret. And I'm like, there's no way this late in the game they can reveal that and expect us to still sympathize with this character. What do you mean you've been fooling everyone in your life for your entire life? We're supposed to... And
hey
it's
guys,
just,
I'm my dead brother, BRB.
It's not illogical in terms of the narrative. It doesn't unwork when you know it's going to happen, but it's just bizarre and makes no sense. And then the end of the story is, he's just going to continue living his brother's life as that other name. Did Mary J. Blige ever find out the truth? We don't know. And
his mom is played by Mary J. Blige, everyone, which...
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that, like, randomly he's searching for the real love.
Mary J. Blige is a major character in this, guys. No.
It's just an absolute bummer that she never once...
Okay, if we...
Is important, is anything. Yeah, and it was just... And for... There's great things that we pointed to about Resurrection. Yes. But again, most of it was just mishandling great opportunities.
Agreed.
Nico.
But the other unforgettable thing about Resurrection is it is basically the Billboard R&B 100 of horror shows.
Yes.
Okay, you got Tyga, already said it. One of the leads is Biggie and Faith Evans' kid.
Yep.
That kid is a love like this. I can't even.
DJ Wallace is the actor.
Really, I loved his character so much that I was relieved when he died because it meant he couldn't be the killer.
Yes, 100% yes.
You got Mary J. Blige. One of the things about Mary being on anything is what she carries with her is an authenticity. So when Mary J. Blige is in something, you just assume that it's for real. So that if, Mary J. Blige was in a Target ad, you would be like, damn, the bullseye, it's real. And so, Mary J. Blige playing the mother on this lended it an authenticity that I think executive producer Dana Owens, that's Queen Latifah to all of you plebes, I think she understood by utilizing her friend, Mary J, as we like to call her, because I'm friends with her too in my heart.
You're exhausting.
I am exhausted as well. It's been
Not
like
what
3
I said.
hours, right?
It's almost Christmas.
It's almost Christmas.
Yeah.
No, but I think when Mary J. Blige was cast on this, they understood the power that her name carried with this character's mother. It made us kind of believe in this character a little bit more in a very subtle way, such that the very seldom uses of Mary J. Blige still carried weight because Resurrection was done the very dirty, quickie in the middle of the day deed of being
Oh my
aired
God.
in 3 2-episode blocks.
2 3-hour
across
blocks, I thought.
3 days. Oh, was that it? Was it 2 days?
It could be yours. I don't remember. You're probably right. That
It's either-
sounds less insulting.
It's either 3 2-hour days or 2 3-hour days, but either way, Scream Resurrection was done the dirtiest deed of being done dirt cheap and given such a very small amount of time for the story to unfold. The reason that's unfortunate is because Resurrection didn't exactly have like, oh man, I've come to love these characters reveals. It sort of had like, shock reveals that I think could have been water cooler talk if they hadn't been treated as next day dump offs because of the Weinstein drama. It ultimately meant that the show had to be burned off very quickly by parent company Paramount. But man, that really did ultimately kill the vibe on this season.
Yeah, the series as a whole.
It was 3 2-hour blocks.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, like, it just bummer, didn't work. Really tried. Gave us things that I'll take forever. Biggest one being Keke Palmer. We're done. That
she's wearing jeans.
I'm so glad to have watched.
Jetpack.
I'm so glad to have watched this. I thought it was interesting. It made me think a lot about what Scream is, what Scream could be. I would be so happy. I'm a use all parts of the animal type of guy. I'd be so happy to see this get used in furthering this franchise. But in the meantime, if it doesn't, I will not be bummed at the time I spent watching it. Ultimately, I think Scream season 1, solid B, season 2, C plus, season 3, C minus, and then within that, there's like Keke Palmer's an A. She's a huge part of the reason why it's on an F. Stuff like that. But I think like I said, not unhappy to have watched it.
But also, Tyga's acting is maybe of a questionable sort of.
Oh my
rating.
God! Yes,
that's a D plus.
I would absolutely. Do you want to finish your punchline?
Oh no, my whole punchline.
There is no punchline.
My whole punchline.
No.
My purpose is I'm secretly the killer.
Yeah. I would include the Lakeview branch of Scream the series in a Scream rewatch of the franchise for sure. Yep. I would only ever rewatch Resurrection scientifically or if I was drunk and with a group of people.
Yeah.
The diamonds, the truffles we were able to find in the dirt of Resurrection are the gift that made it worth getting through it for this project.
Yep.
But it was Scream the series that was the surprise gem among doing this whole thing, I think. And I'm interested to see Behind the Masks book. I would love to see Scream get a Teen Wolf, the series, the movie style chance where
Yes.
they are able to be given a wrap up to this story. The Teen Wolf movie isn't going anywhere, so it's not like you did that for anything other than just to do it.
I'm
Nico.
I'm so sorry. I just need to interrupt with frankly, if you're asking me and I'm looking directly at you Scream producers watching, if you guys want to know what you need to do, you need to do Scream the series, the musical, the series. In the spirit of High School Musical, the series, about a high school doing Scream the musical, which I will write, and then I will write the songs for it. We love this franchise so much. It's like
But it's
it like
in this universe at Woodsboro High School, self-referential about their own town's murders, and
Yeah.
then murders start happening.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I just need to say that I think that Alien is the greatest franchise. Let's just take superheroes out of the mix because that definitely skews your opinion if you grew up with comic books. I think that Alien is the finest, sci-fi franchise of all time, but I don't know that I can call it my all-time favorite franchise anymore because truly my favorite horror franchise, Scream, it has come to mean so much to me with the depth, the quality, and the nuance that each level has added in the same way that Alien does. The original cast went on for so long, and then this new core four, oh man, they are such an incredible treat. And the people we love from Scream the series add so much more to that incredible. I mean, one of the things that made me so happy was we watched actually 1, 2, 5, and 6 with our wonderful partner Jonah, and one of the things he said was, I really want a Blackmore University hoodie because
Yeah.
I love this group of kids. And one of the things that reminded me is when you're shaping a universe like the Scream universe and you're having things that feel unrelated, like 2 seasons of Scream the TV show that feel as unrelated as perhaps an Iron Man spinoff and a symbiote spinoff book do feel from an X-Men title, just to, say how big the Marvel universe is. You're really painting a picture of everyone that belongs in that world. I feel like even though Scream does remain a predominantly white, straight universe with, the ability to point to such a dearth of Asian characters in a world where that just isn't acceptable at all. Scream does have room for a lot of personality types and a lot of personality types to play the victor and to play important roles. I think that Scream represents why so many of us want to wake up tomorrow. We want to keep surviving. We want to keep fighting. And while this is obviously really extreme circumstances, I feel like, I don't know, Scream celebrates what I want in a story about heroes. And I'm really grateful that we did this project, guys. I really thought this one would come in at 2 hours, but fuck. And so I want to thank you guys so much for being such troopers, because this really was such an incredible delve into the women, the characters, and the tropes that make up one of the most important horror franchises of all time.
Yeah, thank you so much for suggesting it, for putting it all together, for seeing that we were at the 27th anniversary of the start of the Scream franchise.
This thing's club, of course.
This thing's got legs, it's got wheels, it's going places. This is going to be an interesting year for news for this project, but also definitely watching and listening Melissa Barrera. Support you no matter what you do. I would love to see you in a 7th Scream movie because I just love following your character, and I think you kill it as Sam. I think Sam is such a fascinating character, and I would love to see what her next step is. But if you decide, fuck this company and fuck this industry because they can't treat people like this, I look forward to somebody else figuring out what to do next and hopefully doing right by the people that show up.
And, one of the things that makes me so love what we do as a family and as a team and as a company and as a show is when we cover things that really reward the love that we have for these things. And I think the Scream franchise is definitely one that, no, nobody's perfect. It's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? But
Lily's perfect. She's cute and she works it.
she's cute and she works it. So, I think that everyone is just raising their rats the best they can, and I am really excited for us to come back to this whenever there is more for us to cover. I think this has been a really great project, and I know that when they release Scream 7, when they release Scream the series, the novel, or when they release Scream the series, the Paramount Plus TV movie, we're probably going to look at all of this again and have even more to say. And I love covering stuff like this with you guys, and I'm really excited for the coverage that we have upcoming in a similar vein with the Monsterverse, and even absolutely completely different content that we love going balls to the walls with, like with all the Drag Race stuff we're going to be having this upcoming 16th season of the main show. So yeah.
And just to say one last goodbye to Scream, I want to thank these women for kind of, I don't know, teaching me how to be like a strong gay dude. You always think that it's so unique, the fear and pain you have, but like one of the things that I think the unique casting of the every woman that is Neve Campbell's performance of Sydney allowed us to have is a hero that made us all feel like it's okay when we're weak because she's strong. And I think that is something that all of the Scream films and Scream the TV show tried to iterate over and over again. No matter who you are, you can feel strong. And whether it's Kirby, Sid, Sam, Tara, Gail, Randy, Dewey, whoever you are, whoever you love, Emma, right? Wanted to make sure I got one person from the show in there, but not Audrey. She makes terrible decisions. This was a project that was a little bit more rewarding than some of the others, where the second week I was like, fuck, is it over? This one we just kept talking because the second week was even better than the first. And thank you guys so much for this incredible journey. Okay, but Monsterverse, very exciting. Tomorrow is TV. Wednesday is comics. Then we got some more cool projects coming your way. You definitely want to see it. Okay, and I am making everybody watch Pokemon Concierge, so keep your eyes peeled because that and What If are gonna be a thing. But we just did Lego. We did Celebrity Lego Masters Spectacular, and we did that amazing unboxing that Kevo did so many incredible shorts for.
Yes, and
Watch it all.
Just in general, this was a really fun broadcast that I think turned out a lot better than we were expecting it to. So check it out.
It also has TK saying "resailed." So,
oh yes, it does. That's one of our favorite parts. And if you go find out what part of the broadcast he says that on, you get absolutely no prize, but the joy it will bring you and your life. So go check out our Lego Masters coverage. Check out our Snatch Game coverage from last week. Our season 16 revealed episode.
No, I don't want to talk about Canada ever again after this week.
I get that. We're already done talking about Canada. So just check out our holiday coverage and buckle in for when we're going to be talking about Drag Race 16. Pretty
or
much
as I'm
soon
calling
as
it, Drag Race's Quinceañera. Oh no, it's Sweet 16. Damn it, they didn't do it for 15. They ruined it for me. Damn it. Anyway.
Oh yeah, they didn't do a quinceañera. It's fine.
I remember us saying that we wanted it so bad to do a quinceañera. Ugh.
All right, I gotta go walk my dog. Everybody say goodbye.
All right.
Okay.
Kevin, where are you?
Where am I? Where's our thing? Here you go. You can find me at the places and the things. Kevo, really. Go ahead, Teak.
You can find me at those same places and things. TK Elemental. Nico.
Find me same places. Nico Action. SoundCloud, Instagram, Blue Sky, and more. We love you. We think you're great. We can't wait to see more of you. Stay safe. Be brave. Evolve daily. We'll see you guys real soon. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and more. You're beautiful, and we'll see you next time. Wink, wink.
We love you.